All right, hello and welcome everyone to the special edition of the user activated soft fork. And
Uh-oh. Is tone bad or am I bad? I can't tell. Oh, this could be bad. I hope I'm not the one that's live.
are we on? What's going on?
I don't know. We like there was a freeze for a while. I wasn't sure if it was you or me. So
I believe we're live.
all right, yeah, we're definitely live. I'm
Okay.
not sure which.
All right. No. We're working. Everything is a go. Welcome to this anniversary edition. It's been 3 years since the huge events to get segregated witness into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we wanted to bring you the stream today with a bunch of guests. We have a few guests already here and joining us. So without further ado, Jimmy, go ahead, say a few words. We're gonna bring our guests on, and we're just gonna, reflect on the last 3 years with segregated witness in the Bitcoin code.
Yeah, welcome to Bitcoin Independence Day. This is the day where we remember just how close we were to having a corporate takeover of Bitcoin. And, Bitcoin proved itself to be resilient and actually anti-fragile to all of the shenanigans that, all of the 2x people try to pull on us. I'm very happy that we're able to celebrate this 3 years later, as it was a very big deal at the time that it was possible that the corporations could take over. The user activated soft fork obviously forced the miners' hands, and they capitulated, and we have the network that we have now. We also had the Bcash hard fork back on August 1st on that day. We also did an epic stream 3 years ago that we did not expect to go for as long as it did, and that's a very good memory for us. So we're here to celebrate Bitcoin's decentralized nature. No other coin can even talk about being decentralized. Bitcoin is the only one that can, and that's what we want to celebrate today. And talk about even they're in the midst of this kind of depressing time where we're all kind of under house arrest. I've said this before. If it weren't for Bitcoin, I think I would be much more depressed than I am, and I would have very little hope going forward. But because we have Bitcoin, we have something that we can hold on to and have some hope in.
All right. Hey, I'm gonna let our guests come in. My wireless keyboard just died. I'm gonna try and keep an eye on all the chats and especially.
Yes, he's gonna keep an eye on the chats. I think Tone's internet isn't that great right now, which is why he keeps.
Yeah, I checked it. It seemed perfectly fine. I don't know. Shit. Okay. Wait. I also have ticks crawling on me, which is not ideal. Hold on.
Ticks, like actual ticks that'll like dig into your skin.
Yeah.
That's not good, dude.
Yeah. But I am in the woods where a famous picture took place. I gotta go Google for that later. Yeah, we have a few panelists with us. Guys, feel free to turn your cameras on, and we're gonna go around the room and say a few words. We got Enders. We got Simon Dixon. You still in the Isle of Man there, buddy? You're muted though.
You're muted.
Yeah, this is the island in the background.
Nice.
Oh, very nice.
All right, so let's get Anders in here. It was the first one to join. Anders, you run the LA Bitcoin meetup. I believe you started on August 1st. That was the day. Who was your speaker that day?
I did a small presentation myself at that stage, but you're right. I launched exactly the 1st of August. I remember you came to LA like 10 days before we met. I went to pick you up at some conference, money conference, cryptocurrency conference in downtown. And I went around to speak to people and talk Bitcoin, but everyone wanted to talk Ethereum and all these other blockchains. So I realized there's a big need to tell people about Bitcoin. So I decided to start the meetup on that basis, which was or is 100% focused Bitcoin only meetup.
That's a good point, because back then, like right around that time was when every meetup was actually splitting into multiple meetups. You went from one meetup in most cities to two meetups, one with lots of shitcoins and one that's Bitcoin only. And obviously, we know where you went. Simon, welcome to the show. You're in the Isle of Man. How's everything going?
Yeah, it's pretty cool here. We've had about 70 days with no cases, but we're just not letting anyone in. So everything's pretty civilized here at the moment, but you can't travel. But yeah, I guess August the 1st, 3 years. Jesus, what's happened in that 3 years? But I do remember this was a very troublesome time in Bitcoin's history. I think it was I'd call it the final test of all the objections to Bitcoin. And this was one time when we were really testing whether Bitcoin was as decentralized as we thought it was. There was a lot of rhetoric around this decentralization concept. But then we had this, this exercise where the miners were disagreeing with the developers, and the developers were disagreeing with most of the major companies that had clout in the Bitcoin industry. And really the users didn't really have a seat at the table until this whole user activated soft fork came along. But really, it really was showing that that you might have a lot of influence, so that there's pockets of influence within the mining industry, or there's influence within the Bitcoin company corporate side, or you might have a lot of influence within the development side. But it just showed that how difficult this time was to reach consensus. Was really when I think Bitcoin solidified itself in some of its commodity-like features that distinguishes it from the rest of the industry. And at that time, everyone was making money by dumping their Bitcoin into an alternative version, an alternative. And Bitcoin was really out of favor at this time.
Yeah, it's quite a change from 3 years ago in the mood. Hey, Joe, welcome to the show. I see you have like the largest cigar I've ever seen. What the hell?
Well, this would be a Gurkha Cellar Reserve Prisoner, 21-year aged, a beautiful cigar, celebrating obviously a beautiful day with one of my favorites. And I love what you said, Bitcoin Independence Day. What a beautiful word. That was the beginning of my days. So I'm excited to be here and hear more.
And when you said Bitcoin Independence Day in the beginning of the show, Jimmy, I instantly thought of Julia Turiansky and her video on Bitcoin independence that took place in 2015, long before SegWit, well, not long before, but before, maybe even 2014, before SegWit was conceived. And I actually just texted her to see if she wants to join. We also have Giacomo Zucco, who's about to grace us with his presence as well.
So Jimmy didn't coin that. I'm pretty sad.
I'm sorry. I'm just repeating what everyone else has been saying. I think Bitcoin Independence Day from Julia Turiansky, there's a legendary article that she wrote many years ago, but that was pre-SegWit. I think Samson Mao might have coined the term in 2017 with respect specifically to user-activated software. All right, it looks like we have Giacomo at least available now.
Right, but I'm not for some reason I can't get him to be a panelist, which is weird. I gave him.
Well, that's because his video isn't on. I think
no. Like, I can't even get him into the. But
it says he's here. Giacomo?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yeah. No video though.
Yeah, I cannot seem to make the video start on Zoom. I will try to disconnect and connect again. Sorry.
Yeah, try to come back. I couldn't move you from attendee to panelist, which is what's needed for you to do your video.
Ah, okay. So I try to connect again.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. So I am. Oh man, I should have got my axe. So I am in the same woods where I gotta go Google for that picture now. I should probably do screen share and take a look at the price before a bunch of more people join us, because I had problems doing screen share last time as well. I mean,
yeah, we had a nice bump last night, right? Like went up a couple $100.
By the way, it looks like Joe and Anders can hang out with us. Simon, how you doing on time there?
Yeah, I'm all good. Hey, Tone, what did your mom think when she first saw your picture with you in the axe in the woods?
My dad finally started watching my YouTube channel like 3 months ago. And as far as my family is concerned, I've literally done nothing for the last 5 years. Like it's really saddening how like nobody cares what I've been up to. They were all very upset that I quit Wall Street and became unemployed. But no one has any clue what I do.
That's why you got to go publish a book or something, and then they'll start taking you seriously.
I use exactly that as a guidance to when there will be a hyper Bitcoinization. We have these bull runs with every halving, and then I look at, I will be contacting my mother and my sister and hearing if they're buying Bitcoin or not. And if they're not buying Bitcoin, then that is not the hyper Bitcoinization halving.
All right. Oh, and we have Luke Dashjr that's joined us. Luke Dashjr, sorry. You just got to unmute. Speaking of SegWit, this is going to hold up my screen sharing here because this is really an honor here. Once he gets his mic working, maybe I can unmute you. There you go. Luke, say something.
Like what?
Like anything.
How you doing?
Beautiful. Hey, man. So I've been dying to ask you. We're going right into the meat here. I don't think Luke Dash needs an introduction, but you are credited with being able to turn SegWit from a hard fork into a soft fork. Can you just tell us a little bit about that history? Was it Peter Willa or Gregory Maxwell? Like who came up with the main ideas? Who made it work? When did you first hear about it? And is the credit accurate? Are you the man responsible for making it a soft fork?
My memory isn't that great about the original SegWit idea. As far as making a soft fork, that was a kind of it always just seemed obvious to me, and it came up in a discussion trying to figure out a way to make soft forks into kind of plugins. And I was just using it as an example of one that could not be made into a plugin.
And how was that received? Like what were before you were able to turn it into a soft fork? What were people thinking? Like was SegWit going to be like, man, it's like another Wimble. We'd love to get it in, but it might have to be a shitcoin.
No, I think the plan was to just put it in as a hard fork.
Really? So the plan was going to be to hard fork Bitcoin with SegWit if it wasn't going to be turned into a soft fork, huh?
Yeah. Obviously, it would require the community to be in. Like any hard fork, it would require the community to get behind it, but sure.
Jimmy, what do you think about that?
Well, it would have been a harder sell to the community to do it as a hard fork, and I'm actually not sure how it would have worked out, but I'm glad we found a way to do it as a soft fork, and obviously that worked out. But for me, Luke, the big thing was the user-activated soft fork, which you kind of spearheaded. What led you to make that sort of your mission, like from something like April of 2017 right up until August of 2017?
Well, at one point it became clear that either the user-activated soft fork was going to succeed or it was going to be a big messy failure with a chain split. And so the only way to avoid the chain split and the messy failure was to get everyone on board as quickly as we could.
And that was your way of doing it? How did you know you would succeed?
I don't know. just the level of community support, I suppose. Everyone wanted SegWit. If you have to choose between a Bitcoin without SegWit and a Bitcoin with SegWit activated in a way that you don't like, which one are you going to choose?
I I see.
Yeah, I got like a million questions for Luke, but because you were really pushing for you were a huge supporter of the user activated soft fork, Luke, and a few others were as well, but the majority of core developers were not.
No,
So
the majority were supportive. It just wasn't all of us.
they weren't publicly supportive.
Well, it was interesting because I mean we're kind of coming up on the same thing now with Taproot. You know, the question of how to activate it is actually kind of a big deal because of what happened with SegWit. What's your opinion on you know, what's going on with the debate on how to activate Taproot?
I think what we did with SegWit set a very good precedent that we should continue. I mean, BIP 148 was very quick, and I think everyone agreed that that was too quick. It was just made necessary because of some bugs in BIP 9. But other than the speed, I think everyone thinks it's doing it the same way is a good way to continue, or at least not regressing.
Who do you like? Are there any specific people you credit for helping to push the user activated soft fork movement and, you know, get the damn thing done?
There were several people who played an important role in making sure that everyone understood it and the game theory behind it.
Okay, I was hoping you'd name some names, but that's okay.
I think it was Alp who pointed out that even the minority could be enough for something like this, as long as there was less opposition or no opposition. The intolerant minority article he wrote.
And do you think that's a little bit of a concern into the future, where a minority can push something that, like, is kind of bad? Like,
well, that's only if there's no opposition. If there's opposition, significant opposition, maybe even it could even be less opposition than support, that could void this.
All right, we have Max Keiser joining us as well once they get their camera and audio set up, but they are with us. Anyone else have any questions for Luke? Luke, how long can you hang out with us? Are you in a rush to get away, or are you going to hang with us for a while?
I don't know.
Perfect, Luke answer. Hey, we still got to get you on like a full show to talk about why SegWit addresses are not necessarily great. Look at that, another HODL shirt. Max, thank you for joining. I'm gonna, you might have to unmute. I can, it's so weird. I can ask to unmute. Maybe I can ask to unmute. Boom. And we'll get a few words. And Joe, you've been with us for a little bit. You already said a few words.
Max is available now. So
Max, all right. How are you, Max? You were there. We were just talking about Julia's, you know, the Bitcoin independence video, because this is also a huge Independence Day for us from 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. You know, I remember it very well. The crypto world, the crypto network, I remember was the go-to media outlet that covered the whole thing, countdown, and you know, the big blocks. It was exciting times.
Anybody else joining me for a drink? I'll get to the tequila, but this is gin and gin with some fruit and spring mineral water.
I don't know, like, doesn't it feel like everyone's been drinking like crazy during lockdown? Do we really need to perpetuate that?
It's just business as usual for me, but Joe's
I'll
got
say-
his cigars.
Yeah,
I'm hang out
Jimmy,
with Joe. Joe's
I
got his
used to.
cigars.
I wasn't a cigar smoker like this before coronavirus. Once that happened, it became the taste.
Well, during our last live stream, Joe, you smoked something like 12 cigars or something insane. So yeah,
that was it. It was lockdown. It was lockdown. Still within the confines, right?
Yeah. So Max,
Hey,
I just want to know: are you wearing pants this time?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, I got
got those legs. Got those legs showing. That's awesome. He's showing us his dance moves as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the price real quick. We've broken 11.7, guys. We are at
Wow.
11.7. This is an incredible weekly candle right here. And this is like one of the highest weekly closes we've had in 2 years. So that's huge. The month has closed at the second highest monthly high ever in Bitcoin's history. The daily chart is also breaking out. Everything's looking great. I couldn't do screen share last time. And but the time before that, I put this green line right there at 11,150. And I said, if we break this line, up we go. And here we are. And a lot of people are asking, you know, how far can this FOMO get? Everyone and their family is asking any Bitcoiner, how do you buy more Bitcoin? That's happening right now as well. And I do think that this can drive higher. I think this people are just now starting to run out and buy Bitcoin, and the liquidity is absolutely tiny. So this thing can pop to 14,000 or 15,000 really, really quickly. But after that, I think there is a lot of people that are waiting to sell at those prices because they got caught at those prices a year and a half ago, or like a year ago, actually a year ago exactly. And I think we can pull back from that $14,000, $15,000 range. No, 1 year ago.
A year and a half?
Yeah, no, a year.
December.
1 year. In June of last year, we hit.
Oh,
14K.
those. That,
yeah.
Wake me up when we get to 20.
Yep. And so I do think if we make it to 14,000, 15,000 relatively quickly, and by quickly I mean in the next few weeks, we can definitely pull back down to that $10,000, $11,000 range, and then start that wave to 20,000. So this does look like a legitimate breakout to me, which is great.
Tone, do you want to see some shit?
Oh, always. What's up?
All right. Well, I got to show you Trader. If you, do you have the 2.5 signals?
I probably do. Let me go back to my screen share real quick.
You posted in your trading group, Joe, didn't you? That's a lot of freaking support, man.
Do you see that gold mine right there? Be careful, Tone. You're signing in. It's going to show your email if you click that.
Everybody knows my email. Yeah, let me, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull this out and then you can't see it. But now you see my code, which you also don't want to see.
I could just show it real quick. It's just
no, I got it. I'm just gonna log in. Oh, no, I can't log in. All right, Joe, I'm giving you screen share.
Yeah, I think this one is the Peter Schiff effect. This is triggered by Peter Schiff saying that Bitcoin will never go past 10,000 again.
Is there a guy that is less credible on Bitcoin than that?
Tone, you might need to activate screen sharing for the
There's Giacomo. Giacomo. How's it going,
Hi,
bud?
everybody. Finally. Happy Bitcoin Independence Day to all.
Yeah, what does the Independence Day mean to you, Giacomo?
Oh, well, I was pretty involved in that discussion. Probably was one of the first cases in which I was a little bit relevant in the debate because before that I was very peripheral to the Bitcoin debate. And I wrote an article that Francis Puyol just shared again today, which was interesting because it was, for me, it was very interesting to write it because I was very conflicted about UASF because the point is, Bitcoin shouldn't change if there is not consensus, and UASF seems like a way to push a change without consensus. But it was a way to do that because there was an attempt to push another change against consensus, leveraging the fact that the technical consensus over SegWit was basically taken hostage by miners in this kind of negotiation about the block size. So it was a very complex situation, game theoretically. It was also very confusing for me and for many, many others. I was, since the beginning, I was proudly and vocally anti-2x, but I was not initially pro UASF, actually. I got convinced very close to the activation moment, the beginning of August, because of some complex game theoretical discussion. So it was a very complex day. But anyway, it was the day that demonstrated finally, regardless of the UASF, the collapse of the 2x experiment and the beginning of Bcash demonstrated that Bitcoin was completely independent from even a coalition of 80% of the hash power, most of the most powerful exchanges and wallets. So most of the greatest Bitcoin companies were together pushing a change that Bitcoin didn't want, and Bitcoin didn't follow that change because basically consensus users, a status quo are more important than hash rate or companies.
All right. Any okay. Hey, Will, I got a friend in the chat sending me good questions from the live chat, so that's probably better. Hey guys, if you see me like totally distracted, it's not that I'm being a total asshole to the panelists, it's because I'm also my own producer and I gotta keep an eye on like a million things, including bringing more people on the stream. So feel free to not wait for me in order to ask each other questions and keep the conversation going. Hey, thanks, Giacomo, for that. Hey, Joe, I got Trader up for some reason. I can't figure out how to. I'll give you the ability to do screen share, which is weird because Zoom changes shit all the time. But I did log in, and just let me know what are we looking for and what time frame I should look at. I'm on 60 minutes right now.
Well, if you were to scroll down, minimize, make the chart smaller, scale the chart smaller on the right column. Yeah, just make it so we can see more price.
Wow, there's a big wall at 12,000 there.
So yeah, like click on the numbers like 12,000 and all that, and then just drag it down so we can see like a full picture of price action.
Like that?
Okay.
Oh, wow, look at that.
This gold mine right there.
Now this is an hourly chart. So this
look,
is
look
like...
at when the gold mine started, and this is the gold mine. This was designed in here to factor in the psychology of a breakout scenario where people are trying to chase the bottom of what they think to be a pullback. This isn't hourly, so of course on a 5-minute chart, which I'm looking at, this obviously looks much bigger. This looks much bigger. But this is a gold mine. This means buyers are chasing the book, which means we have support building as we move up. This isn't just a bull run. This is a parabolic fucking psychotic bull run. So it's like close your shorts. Don't have to open a long, but this is definitely the real deal. At least short term, Bitcoin's moving hard and it's moving fast. You gave it about a 3-week time span for 14K. I'm hoping we can nail that sooner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I would not be so. I mean, we're back in those days, and because like I was looking at Google Trends, and Google Trends are barely starting for people that are looking to buy Bitcoin. So there is like the real FOMO hasn't set in. Like I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days you wake up in the morning and it's up like $2,000. But I do have a question from the audience saying, what is the probability of a full pullback at 14,000? And the answer is, the faster we get to 14, 15,000, the more likely a severe pullback is going to take place. So if we get to 14,000 by Monday, it's going to be a big, fast pullback. But if we get to 14,000 in, say, end of August, there may not be a pullback, and we may just keep grinding higher to 20. So it depends on how fast you get there.
I think that was the sound of many people clicking buy on their Cash App. Yeah, just guessing, because I'm saying that because I was one of those people.
I'm not seeing much around like all of the family sending Facebook messages and stuff. Actually, the only thing I'm seeing at the moment is people talking about the Twitter hack and thinking that Bitcoin's a scam and confusing Bitcoin with a scam and not understanding the difference. So I don't think we've seen the retail FOMO coming in at all yet. I don't know if anyone else is seeing anything.
Because most of the altcoins are scams, and people associate that with Bitcoin too much.
Well, wait, I'm sorry. Look, most which aren't.
I'm not going to.
It's the maximalist that aren't.
Namecoin, right? Maybe not. Maybe not Namecoin.
Namecoin. Oh my goodness. That project still around?
No. There was a few honest attempts. Like I think Counterparty wasn't a scam at all. I just never thought it was going to amount to anything. So there's definitely like lots of coins out there. that you can speculate on that I felt weren't like scams. They were honest attempts, but some of those attempts were just, I knew that they weren't going to go very far.
Well, Namecoin escapes because its purpose isn't to be a currency at all.
Well,
Yeah,
neither was
that's right.
Counterparty.
True.
What's everyone's memory on like the first sign? If I'm thinking back to the first time I heard of Bitcoin Cash, I think it was referred to as, I remember a blog on Bitmain's website where they were threatening that they're hiring a developer, they're going to do a hard fork, and I think they called it Bitcoin ABC or something. That was my first memory, and it was actually on the Bitmain website, and it was Bitmain saying that they're funding a developer to create the hard fork. That blog post later went, and it was kind of said that it came from the community. But what's everyone's
activated hard fork?
Yeah, UAHF. And
Even
it
though it
was
wasn't
Amory
user-activated
Sachet.
at all.
That was the man.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't user related at all, it was just Bitmain.
I mean, English isn't their.
It was
strong
originally a Bitmain initiative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look, it's been 3 years. Speaking of Bcash, it is still with us. Its value keeps falling. It just made a new all-time low against Bitcoin, down to 2.4% of Bitcoin. I'm not sure where it is right now. We can look it up, but it's certainly below 2.5. It was around 2.5%.
It's right now 2.67%.
Okay, so it's back above 2.5. So it's hovering above that 2.5. Like, at which point, like, do they give up? Like, does it have to go below 2%, 1.5%? Roger is still, I think he's on the verge. I think another year, and I think if Bitcoin Cash falls below 2% of Bitcoin's value by this time next year, he'll be gone.
I hope
Well,
not.
so here's the thing about Roger that we need to talk about at least a little bit. He was on Pomp's podcast yesterday. Apparently, he said that he still holds 50% in Bitcoin. So he has, I guess, the other 50% is all the alts he owns, including Bitcoin Cash. But 50% is Bitcoin. Right? What does that tell you about his conviction?
There is something strange in Roger's math, though, because it's at least 4 years that he is selling Bitcoin, 50% of his Bitcoin for scam coins every time, and then again. So it cannot still be at 50%. You remember at the cruise, he was already saying during the debate the other night that he had most of his wealth in Bcash right now, not in Bitcoin. And then he said he was increasing that percentage. So I'm not sure that is very credible.
Wait.
No, it works because Bitcoin goes up in value.
Right.
So no matter how much he sells, Bitcoin will keep getting back to 50%.
Right. So right.
Mathematically, that works. Yeah.
Right. So
Bitcoin isn't letting him go.
Right. So
I'm wrong. My objection was very stupid. It completely works. Yeah. Roger is smart. I agree.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna say as well, right? If on the cruise he had 50% in Bcash and 50% in Bitcoin, he'd have 90% in Bitcoin today and 10% in Bcash, because one's going up and one keeps going down.
Yeah, my apology to Roger Ver. His reasoning makes sense, absolutely.
Everyone has a worse trade in their life.
Hey, but you know what? Hey, you know what I saw this morning? Because I don't pay attention to Twitter much. But John Carvalho was like apologizing to Roger. Can someone explain that? Like, what the hell did Roger say on Pop's podcast that has like John Carvalho being like civilized to Roger again?
I didn't watch the podcast.
I'm looking it up.
Check out.
Look
at John Carvalho's tweets. I mean, either he got hacked. He's like apologizing for that whole, the middle finger incident and the sock puppet situation. I invited John Carvalho to the show, but like, I don't think he saw my message.
Yeah, he might come later. Hey, speaking of BCH, Tone, can you take a look at the BCH chart? Because it just looks like a giant downward triangle. I just want to know if that's the.
All right, let me see. Let me.
Well, you got to look at it at a weekly or monthly scale. But if you zoom all the way out, then
I don't know if you experience the same though. But most of the comments I get on my YouTube channel are not the BCH anymore. It's BSV. Most of the twit storms and everything I get is how I hear more about BSV than BCH at the moment. I don't know if everyone sees
stocks, right?
Yeah, whatever. Well, I don't. I get my.
Yeah, well,
I keep getting these Twitter DMs about how I'm getting everything wrong and it should be BSV now. I don't hear it that as much.
I know.
They're more dedicated trolls on BSV, I guess.
I'll always be grateful to Lop for sending out that. I mean, he wasn't even there, but when Lop sent this tweet that had like 1,000 likes of speaking of BSV as the charts load. Yeah. Oh, that's not Lop's tweet. Damn. But that was it. That was the. We're all Satoshi except for Craig Wright shirt.
Yeah, how that guy's still around, I have no idea. But is the chart finished loading, or is your computer as crappy as it was yesterday?
With the CSW thing, then, so has it reached a stage where if the addresses are his, then he's claiming he's Satoshi, and if they're not, then he's the Mt. Gox hacker? Is that where we're at now?
I'm sorry, I lost the audio on that, so Jimmy will have to answer.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but to a degree, like he has no credibility anywhere in any court because he's just lied and forged so much. So, I mean, we do know that he claimed one of the Mt. Gox addresses. Several of those addresses were owned by somebody who signed and said, "Hey, this is, Craig Wright is a fraud, and this, he's an idiot." Blah blah blah. Similar thing is, like Calvin Ayre seems to have be completely sucked into Craig's reality distortion field, but it's kind of really
Jimmy, I go the other way on that. I don't think Calvin Ayre is sucked into Craig Wright's bullshit. I think Calvin Ayre is the mastermind behind creating and funding the Craig Wright bullshit.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, who knows who's the puppet and who's the puppet master? But either way, it's one.
Yeah, it's similar to the Ronnie Moaz scam. He was set up as a patsy. I think Craig Wright is a patsy. He's the Sirhan of crypto.
No, you see, here's the thing. It's funny that you mentioned Ronnie Moaz. I was actually just on the phone with him. I'm still in touch with him. He was definitely played. So, yeah. But he was also very young in the space, and he didn't realize.
He set that all up. That whole thing was a setup. He was in on it from the very, very beginning. He contacted me at the very beginning of that scam. And
right. No,
but me into that scam. I told him the people behind it were scammers, and then he went ahead and did it anyway.
Right. But here's the thing. But Ronnie Moaz wasn't a scammer. He just didn't understand that he was being set up as a patsy.
Well, he understands pump and dump, and he understands securities fraud, and he understands that this was a variation on that theme, and he was recruited, and he took the bait, and he got played. So
right.
He's a total patsy. Craig Wright is a patsy, in my view.
But here's the thing. Here's where I disagree. See, a patsy is someone that doesn't know what's going on. If Ronnie Moaz knew, if he understood the end result, he would never have gone along with it. But Craig Wright fully understands the end result here, and he's happy to play along. So that's not exactly a patsy to me. A patsy, when he realizes what happened, he's in trouble, mentally and everything. But Craig Wright knows exactly what's going on, and he's happy to play the role.
Anyway, I think that Craig Wright has a very important function in the space right now, because he is an indicator of the level of bullshit in the ecosystem right now to people who are not technical enough. So people who are technical, they can understand that the so-called crypto market is still very irrational because they say they see Ethereum, it doesn't make sense. They see Bcash, it doesn't make sense. So they can understand. But a lot of people, they don't have the technical knowledge that can make them understand if the market is still completely irrational or not. And Craig Wright is a litmus test about that, because even if you have zero technical knowledge at all, when you see a guy which is clearly a con artist lying about every single sentence, contradicting himself every single day, and lying about addresses, about copying academical paper, about the number of degrees he has. So he's lying about everything, which even a smart layman without any technical understanding can simply verify. So I think that the litmus test is, as long as Craig Wright is relevant in the so-called crypto space, and as long as BSV even exists as a meme, as a concept, you know that the crypto industry is still mostly noise and bullshit as snake oil, and there is no rationality in this market. When Craig Wright and BSV has disappeared, now you know that probably you can address this kind of industry with some kind of expectation of rationality.
Are you still
Right.
around?
That's why the presence of Paul Tudor Jones in the mix now is extremely important, because that's now graduation to a professional level. And so we're leaving the era of the Craig Wrights and the Roger Vays. We're entering a new era of professionalism. And that's why the price of Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher than everyone's expecting, because as an asset class, it's going to really start chasing gold now. Why? Because the US dollar is showing incredible weakness right now. And that's the counter side of this trade. It's dollar versus gold and Bitcoin. And as long as dollar goes weaker, gold and Bitcoin are going a lot higher, except Bitcoin is going a lot higher, a lot faster. As Paul Tudor Jones said, it's the fastest horse in the race.
Hey, let's talk about gold for a minute. I'm going to pull up the long-term view of gold. And here we are at new nominal all-time highs, probably inflation-adjusted all-time highs as well, versus both the 2011 top and the 1980 top. And Max, you're the resident expert here on gold and silver. Where do you think this is going?
Yeah, well, gold's going a lot higher. You see Russia, China are now doing trades outside of the US dollar. US dollar is getting weaker every day. US dollar is going to have extraordinary trouble going forward. And central banks have been buying hundreds and hundreds of tons of gold. And all these bilateral trade deals are happening outside of the dollar. And I anticipate much more dollar weakness. Gold goes higher, and silver is always got a higher beta than gold. It's going to chase gold, and so it'll make a new all-time high, but that would be in the $50 range, which is a stretch from here. But once it pops through 50, then you're going to see that start to run away. You got the Robinhood traders are going to love silver. Silver and gold fever definitely bring out the FOMO more than Bitcoin. I mean, people go crazy over silver and gold, particularly silver. And once it starts making new highs, all those Robinhood traders are going to be click, 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 click on silver. So you're going to see that jump a lot higher. And Bitcoin's part of that complex. It's the gold, silver, Bitcoin complex. It's a counter trade to the dollar. People want to get out of the dollar. You know, stock market's going to at some point get toppy. You know, it's hard to say exactly when. Where's Apple going? It's going to over $2 trillion valuation. I mean, it's getting pretty high. So then that leaves only one safe haven left, and that's gold, silver, Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, thanks for that update. And we do have live viewers that are asking more about that Roger Ver on Pump's podcast. I did not listen to it. I don't know if anyone here did, but this is the John Cavallo tweets from this morning saying, or yesterday, lots of public questions answered, bearable amount of FUD and shilling. Good job, Pump and Roger. Roger, I'm sorry for triggering you with the sock puppet thing. Sock armies were real even then. Someone did something. Roger, I'm also sorry about the middle finger meme, and that seeing it is regrettable for you. I wanted to defend Bitcoin just like you and not hurt anyone. You're still wrong about Bitcoin, and the market is showing you, but you articulated your views better than usual in the interview. Better UX and wider adoption for BTC is coming. Happy to explain it to you when you're ready. Yeah, so looks like John really enjoyed the interview.
Well, John is also a rhetorical chess player, so I will not completely discount the possibility that he's being kindly sarcastic or.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he's very unpredictable about. He's very good with words. And
well, he said later that he's not, though. I think
he did it backhanded. What's it called? A backhanded compliment. He said, "Good job. By the way, I'll teach you about Bitcoin when you're ready." You know, like he's being a genie, like a funny ass dude. I totally see that.
Oh, hey, so
also
back to
recently, John, I had some discussion with John because he's intentionally pulling off a very strange kind of rhetoric on Twitter. He's promoting his new startups, and the way he's doing that is by trying to be a little bit contentious, even with maximalists and with Bitcoiners. So he's, for example, he's attacking the Austrian economic meme and the hodling meme with this rhetoric of circular economics. And he's also, well, he's trying to trigger people in both directions. So I will not be surprised if this is scientific.
He's by.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick, guys, because I want to get off screen share. Jimmy asked to take a look at Bcash. And yes, that is a giant descending triangle that's been forming for 2 years. And I think within the next 12 months, this thing has to go towards zero. Like something bad is going to happen. Like they can get 51% attacked because they really don't have any kind of mining strength, or they're going to start merge mining with Bitcoin. It looks like something is going to happen, or Roger is going to call it quits and then all confidence will be lost. This looks like a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, the triangle was large enough that it would go into negative territory on the linear scale. So on log, I guess it would be like 75% loss or something like that if you did the height of the triangle method or whatever.
There's just no volume. I'm looking at that triangle and nothing, no candle in that triangle that gave it a glimpse of hope did anything, you know. So it's might have been some attempted, maybe internal, maybe external pumps and dumps or whatever, but that thing's gonna die. I'm just looking at a dead man walking on that chart.
See, it's an interesting one with Bitcoin Cash because the Bitcoin Cash people would say that, you know, the criticism for the Bitcoin people is that they're all focused on hodling. They don't want to spend it. They don't care about utility. They just want it's just a get rich quick scheme for them. But for the Bitcoin Cash people, it's interesting because if you want to use it as cash, obviously having properties of a unit account, medium of exchange, purchasing power is obviously an important part of that. So you just get all these weird conflicts when you're trying to compartmentalize these cryptocurrencies into different things. So, you know, if your purchasing power is going down, I guess one could say that it's a much better medium of exchange because the way that fiat circulates and the velocity of money gets so high is because you're always trying to get rid of the bad money first and keep that. So I would say a decreasing price is actually a proven methodology for increasing the velocity of money because you want to spend it and keep and save the other things. So we get a really interesting dichotomy to look at here.
Well, I will object that the point about a good medium of exchange is different from 2 points of view: the payer and the payee. So the payer wants to get rid of any kind of asset that is decreasing in value, so it will spend it first with this kind of tire law. But the payee, the merchant, he would prefer to accept something that will maintain value than something that is losing value very fast. So if you go in Venezuela and you compare the Bolivar with the US dollar, it's not really that the Bolivar is a better medium of exchange. For merchants, the US dollar, especially in the black market, the US dollar is a better medium of exchange. They want US dollars. But for customers, they want to spend Bolivar first. So it's always a double utility here. So I would say that overall, it's not even true that if you have a fastly unappreciating asset, that's a very good medium of exchange, because the counterparty will not want to accept it. Probably what you can argue is that a stable, a comparatively stable purchasing power could be better than a volatile purchasing power, even if the volatility is good because it's going up overall. So an asset which is very, very volatile like Bitcoin, even if it's going up overall, may create some problems as a medium of exchange. But Bcash is just as volatile and also going down, and also with very low acceptance rate and very low volumes. So it's, I mean, good try, but I don't think we can save it that way.
Okay, guys, we also have Vortex joining us. Vortex, good to see you here. What's your memory of Bitcoin Independence Day from 3 years ago?
Was an amazing, crazy time. But first, let me just say it's quite an honor to be among all of these hodlers of last resort. It's absolutely been a while, maybe too long. Got my own stuff going on, but absolutely awesome. Everybody should feel and count their lucky stars to be among these people with this much experience combined. So awesome stuff. Great to see everybody. Love all you guys. So real quick, I mean, what a freaking crazy time it was. The biggest thing I remember is Jeff freaking Garzik, that guy, trying to basically, everybody seemed to, all the corporations and companies and miners seemed to think that it was a great idea to go ahead and let a single guy run an entire repo of Bitcoin. Take it basically all the open source code, and instead of having an open source type of situation here where everybody could contribute to a single person. And so that I thought was absolutely insane. So I tried to speak my mind as much as I could, and went on a bunch of different podcasts. Of course, went on my podcast, spoke about it a lot, and a lot of people really seem to agree. And I still don't, to this day, don't quite understand how they got as far as they did. But we eventually did kind of take control there with our full nodes, and that is something that, again, was a huge public loss for anybody that thinks that they can control Bitcoin, somebody like maybe Jihan, right, Bitmain. That was a huge public loss for them and those type of people. And it was a huge public win for everybody in Bitcoin, everybody who was in Bitcoin for the real reasons, who were running their full nodes, who were hodlers of last resort, who wants to see this thing go past 10, 100,000 plus years. We want to be here for a while. So just this last thing I want to say is that thank you, Shall and Fry, right? Thank you, Shall and Fry, so much for creating that UASF and really giving us a path forward, and then for all the people who are supporting it. Absolutely amazing days. To see that from where we are now is almost, everything moves really fast in Bitcoin, right? So it's almost like 100 years ago, but it's absolutely amazing where we are right now with this new bull run, and everybody is quite excited. Not the retail yet, that's next year, that's the end of next year. But right now, it's just still a great, amazing time. Still a great time to keep your heads down and working because there is still a long way to go. So thanks again, guys, for having me.
Yeah, no, Vortex, thanks for joining us on this one.
Random question out of left field for Vortex. Do you know whatever happened to Andrew DeSantis? Like, he kind of went crazy. So I wanted to know what happened.
I know only a teensy bit, which is that he essentially went to Team BSV.
Really?
Believe it or not, he was there for a short time. I'm not sure if he's still there or not, but that's where that dude disappeared to, from the little knowledge that I understand and have been able to observe.
Oh, okay. I guess DOS is going to be built on BSV or something.
It's going to be built on Bitcoin, spelled with capital B, capital C.
Hey guys, looks like
I do remember how scary this actually was, though, Vortex. You kind of brought it all back. Do you remember how fast that SegWit 2x code was put together, and the lack of testing, and the deadline was getting closer and closer, and this was actually at one stage looking like this could be the Bitcoin code, and we were going to have 42 million Bitcoins, and the whole rhetoric was breaking down. But that code that was put together so fast, and yeah, that was pretty scary.
Absolutely. absolutely. I'm not using my correct mic right now. Apparently, I guess I'll set that up in a second. But it was absolutely really scary. And like you say, there was just so little testing. Again, every couple of months there was every couple of weeks there was news about a new version of a beta, and but who was testing it? Nobody knew who was testing it. Nobody knew who was really what was going on behind the scenes. It was really single-handedly being coded by Jeff Garza, and it was absolutely crazy to think that there were so many people behind this. And it all ended up being just one guy. Really absolutely crazy.
Speaking of Garza, he's still like reviewing code sometimes in the Bitcoin Core repository. I'm sure Luke would be familiar with that. But yeah, that to me is a little bit odd that he's still contributing. Luke, do you know what his deal is?
What, Jeff Garza? No, remember he launched very shortly before Segwit 2x. He launched his own token. Remember, he launched his own coin that was supposed to be better than Bitcoin, and then that I believe went defunct, and now I don't know where he is.
Well, Luke,
I don't think he's done any reviewing lately that I've noticed anyway. But.
Okay, well, at least 6 months ago, I was like, hey, he's still doing stuff, which was like. He was reviewing code and giving it like,
I mean, it's possible I just don't notice because I don't really look at the author of a lot of stuff.
Fair enough.
Hey, who did we lose? We had like
we lost Giacomo because he had to leave.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, if anyone needs to leave, please interrupt and like say your goodbyes. Get that last sentence in there, and off you go. You're always welcome to come back. I got we got one more guest joining, but I got a question for you, Vortex, while Crypto finally sets up her camera and mic, because this is going to be interesting. Yeah.
So could I reconnect, because I am using the wrong mic and people are complaining about it.
Oh, yeah, so. You shouldn't have to jump off. You should be able to.
You sound like sound like a vortex right now.
Yeah, it's not showing up, and so I have to reconnect so it'll show up.
Yeah, and people are also saying that, Simon, your mic's really loud.
Okay, let me push that away.
Yeah, sorry, John. So hold that question.
Right.
I'll be right back.
All right, so we could say hi to Crypto finally then instead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of distracted. Google's decided that Bitcoin is malware again.
Oh, no. Hi, Crypto finally. How's it going? Where the hell are you? What is that? A hotel room?
No, this is a room that I stream in. Sorry, this is my house. I'm about an hour and a half outside of New York City. I moved during COVID because it was awful.
Yeah.
I couldn't see my video before I was brought live with you guys, so I guess we're all here now. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you weren't around. You joined the crypto space a little bit after this 2017 Independence Day. You got in like 2018, right?
Yes, I am an after the fact crypto person. Yes, I didn't quite make it.
So how do you remember this whole movement? Did you ever look it up? Or like what is the millennial version of what happened?
What is the millennial version of what happened? Tone, I don't know if you want me to out you completely on this screen, but you sent me a Zoom link and told me to join, and here I am, and I didn't do much research.
Oh, but you're used to the camera. You can wing it. No, but hey, thanks for joining us. And
okay, as a 2018 millennial, have you heard of user activated software?
Have I heard of user activated software? Yes. Do I know much about it? No. This is not my day to shine, boys.
No, but this is the really interesting thing about the crypto market, because when people join at different stage, they have such a different perspective of what the market is. And you get these like rounds of people. So the latest one is all the people joining to get yield in DeFi, and their understanding of the market versus people that were at these different stages. It's almost like when you're on Twitter trying to figure out which generation or which stage they joined really defines a lot of the rhetoric and almost the crypto religion that they join.
It's true. I mean, my entry to the crypto space, I think, has been a lot different, obviously, from you guys. But I really come from a point of demographic expansion, getting people involved, and what's a new way to simplify this, which is a new look and a new take. But it comes from my entry point, which was I felt that it was too complicated for me to get involved, and it was not. So let's get some more people in here. So I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
So what made you get involved in 2018? That was a pretty rough year when most people were getting out of crypto.
I got involved in 2018. It was always from the content creation side. So my initial involvement actually was during a Consensus networking party. So I went to the after party for Consensus and I saw basically the passion and the drive of this community. Also that we were on the emerging floor, the ground floor of like a new emerging market. And this was going to be a new opportunity. Not many times in my life, nor will there be many times ever, will I get another opportunity to be on the ground floor. Now, what I saw here was a possibility for us to take this new financial sector and actually create the leaders that we want to put into the space, you know, and basically make a change to what we've seen in the past in sectors similar to this, though not quite here. So I thought, you know, let's have a new entry and let's find a new way to get involved in this. So that's just me. It's always been about demographic expansion, and I get really nervous on these Tone Vays stream with you guys. So sorry if I'm following on my words a little. Stop it, Tone. Don't laugh at me.
No, this one is better. We don't have like 40 people on at the same time, so
Vortex is back, so we should test his mic at least.
Yeah, I got a question for him, but one question. The Consensus you're talking about, that's the 2019 one where we met, right? Or the one before that?
The year before, 2018. 2018 when the big SIM swaps hack happened at those parties. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yep. Remember that well. All right, Vortex, let's test your mic with the following question. Because I'm curious myself. At which point or who were the influencers that got you convinced that user-activated soft fork is the way to go, even though it's dangerous and could like destroy Bitcoin, but it has to be done? Well, like name 3 most critical people in that decision for you to be part of this movement.
Sure. So for me, to be honest, I can't even actually, sorry to go right out the gate, Tone, I can't even really like name 3 people, because for me, it was just a whole lot of research, a whole lot of reading conversations, reading Bitcoin Talk, and, you know, talking to a bunch of people. But for me, it was just a culmination of, after a few weeks, I suddenly got the game theory, realized, you know, I already realized the problem that we had, but then after it took a few weeks for me to really, maybe even a couple months, really for me to get the game theory. And once I got it, like, that was it. I understood now what some of these other people were saying. They understood why this could actually work, and why it really didn't need even the majority of people to succeed. It just needed, you know, the people that were actually in Bitcoin for the right reasons, which were the people running full nodes. So for me, it was just a culmination of a bunch of reading. And I just, and prior to this, let me say this, prior to the UASF actually being launched and deployed, I was saying very publicly on Twitter, like a bunch of times, that there is going to have to be some kind of black swan event to get SegWit activated, and that things can change in Bitcoin extremely, extremely fast. And we've seen that play out a bunch of times. Though, of course, Bitcoin is anti-fragile. We've seen narratives. We've seen people get kind of, you know, completely burned. We've seen things change really fast in Bitcoin. And so I think that's just an important thing to keep moving forward too. If, you know, if anybody again try to think about centralizing it and things like that, like, things can move very, very, very quickly. So for me, sorry, Tony, I can't really name 3 people off the top of my head, but I can tell you that for sure, after reading all the discussion and thinking about the game theory, I came to the conclusion that this was a necessity, and I just tried to tell as many people as I could as I understood it.
All right, very cool.
I'm surprised you're not listing Luke. For me, that was like a big influence. At least.
I mean, Luke, Eric Lombroso, I guess we can name those 2 for sure.
Well, wait a minute. So,
but it was prior to them really, you know, it was prior to, for sure, I think it was prior to Eric for sure. That I guess maybe I didn't even read enough of Luke's conversation, because Luke was part of it, but there was just so much discussion online as well. So.
Yeah, no, look, you were definitely very instrumental for the user-activated soft fork movement. I'll tell you who I heard about it from for the first time, and that was Mr. Hodl, who I also tried to get on this stream, though he's not going to do video. But I remember how exactly it went down. I was in a debate with Roger Ver over Bitcoin Unlimited at the 2017 February.
Yes.
It was Anarchapulco down in Mexico. And the day after I debated him, Johnny Dilly was debating him. And I'm like messaging back and forth with Hodl. And Hodl is like ranting to me about, ask him about the user activated soft fork. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a troll. There's a troll joining us.
You know,
Oh no.
I'm the UASF.
Everybody watch out.
That is actually an awesome mask. And
It is.
Yeah, I need to get one of those. I'm gonna like wear it like whenever I get to debate Roger again.
That needs to be in a movie, because right now we have because there's a couple of famous masks like the V for Vendetta mask, and I think if that ends up in a popular movie, that's going to be the next mask movement.
That's a great time, real quick, to plug Max Keiser's and Stacy's show about the UASF to the moon. Just real quick, guys, everybody go and check that out. They did a great, I think, a great job covering a big part of a lot of people's opinions about it. So
I think that was like episode 4 or 5 or something.
Episode 4, yeah. Episode 4, we covered the USA.
Thank you so much, Vortex, for always linking to that. That's really good. You were, of course, very crucial for us on Keiser Report Watch, because, at the time, it was the titans of the early Bitcoin space. And you had no idea if people like Gavin Andreessen are choosing one side, you're like, who am I to say which one of these guys is right? So it was a scary moment for people who weren't technically minded and didn't know exactly who was going to win. I mean, Jimmy Song is laughing because I know he was, he knows what he's talking about, but as an observer and a hodler, at the time it was very scary. You're like, either we're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be horribly wrong, or I guess it was around noon where we were, but it was exciting, but I'm glad it survived. And then it went.
So what brought you over the edge? What convinced you that this was the right way to go?
Well, the day it survived, and then the price just soared.
Number go up. Yeah, that's always a good indicator.
Engineer technology.
No, but there was, remember, on the Korean exchanges, there was the all of the Bitcoin go into the Korean exchanges, and then the price of Bitcoin Cash was like really, and this was before, because remember before this, there was all of the volume was in China. And then suddenly around this time, Korea became important. And then there was, I can't even remember maybe it was BitThumb or something like that. Like all of this volume was like just pumping into, all of these Bitcoins were pumping into BitThumb. And it was really orchestrated in one day that it looked like Bitcoin Cash was actually going to become Bitcoin or take over or something like that.
Well, that was a little bit after 2x, when everybody that was for 2x basically joined the BCH movement, and then we had that giant pump of BCH.
It was huge.
That went all the way up to half a Bitcoin per BCH. That was that had to be one of the most profitable days of my life. I don't know about you guys, but I sold some then, and that. I'm still very grateful to Jihan for taking my bags.
I'm pretty sure I sold all mine before the big pump. I sold it pretty quickly, almost like I think was it within 24 hours. Maybe
I was doing mine live on this broadcast on Kraken, because I remember putting some of the Bitcoin on Kraken, and Kraken was the first one.
I was not prepared to dump the Bcash. I thought it wasn't going to go anywhere. So I remember it was like after like a week or two, I'm like, shit, it's still with us. So I spent all night like putting together the private keys, and I took the 10%.
Yeah. I think I got 8%. I think I got 8%, if I remember.
I caught that stupid ass Coinbase pump. I saw in the order book that they were intending to launch, and the lowest ask was 40 500. So I think I put 499, and I got my order filled, and then they shut down trading 15 minutes later.
Whoa, that's an amazing price that you got. I wasn't
It was
able to
stupid.
do
Well,
that.
but you were custodying on Coinbase. That's why.
I was
like
back
you couldn't get
then.
it.
I was a noob. I was trading on Coinbase Pro. I was
Yeah.
I was spot trading, but
because anybody that tried to deposit into Coinbase, you didn't get that. You had to already have Bitcoin on there, and then they split it for you, and that's the only way you got it.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
What other percentages did people get their BCH?
hey Luke, did you get it? Did you sell the BCH or you still have it? Luke,
you're muted or something.
I sold mine before Bitcoin crashed, so I lost it all on taxes.
oh God, no, we all did that. We all sold it before Bitcoin crash, but you sell it for Bitcoin, so you just gotta hold on to it in Bitcoin.
Well,
Hey,
no, because it's still capital gains tax, even if it's held on to in Bitcoin.
No, right. That year it was like for like you could do tax free, but the following year, remember they changed it in the U.S. Europe is more free, but
yeah, I've still got a bunch of them because there was Bitcoins that I was willing to put on the exchange, and then there was a bunch where I just didn't want to mess with them, and I still haven't messed with them now. So there must be a bunch of BSV and BCH and stuff. I haven't really checked.
yeah,
They're going to be collectors eventually.
I did dump some BCH. I do remember getting 700 for it.
Okay.
So I don't
Well,
know.
at what price? Well, it's usually talked in terms of percentage of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin was 7,000 at the time, then it would be 10% or 0.1.
I think I waited like a year and a day for tax purposes, and I dumped it, and it was like 700 that day. I remember everybody was kind of commenting on that in like the Cointelegraph and CoinDesk sort of media about the tax point that you would be able to dump it for free at long-term capital gains.
Hey, I want to thank the people watching us. We have about 650 live viewers, and super chats are coming in. Thank you guys. Thank you, Zaya, and thank you, Hayoto, for the 1,000 yen. I'm not sure. I think it's about 10 US.
$10, yep.
So how is the hard fork coin, like obviously it's different in every jurisdiction, but in the US, like was it literally you were taking the price as zero and it was like full capital gains on zero to where you sold?
I think it was more or less like a dividend, if I remember. The weird thing was there were so many hard forks that happened like right in rapid succession, especially early 2018, and like. The crazy thing is most of them didn't survive, and there's only like 5 that trade for any amount of money at all. And stuff like Bitcoin Private, which was actually pretty, that had a pretty big pump at the beginning. Nobody trades it anymore, which is kind of crazy.
I never sold. The only fork I ever cashed out was Bcash. I never did Private or Gold or any of the other ones.
Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5 that trade right now. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond. I think that's it. Like there were 29 of them that were trading for some amount at one point, but it's kind of crazy that they've all kind of gone away.
Isn't there like some of them like Diamond and Gold? Like I never claimed those because I didn't know who was behind it. Like it seemed like it might be dodgy, and it was just some elaborate scheme to steal your Bitcoin. So I didn't know what it was.
I mean, this is where I was like I've talked to Adam back about this, but he and I think like if you knew when to sell and everything else, there was a good deal of money to be made, and you could up your Bitcoin stack by like 5, 6, 7, 10% just on the everything other than BCH, which was kind of insane, and this is how you take money from suckers, I guess.
Yeah, speaking of Adam back, I just texted him trying to see if he's free. Maybe he can join us.
Yeah, he can. I'm sure he has good memories of like. He told me he did this for not just his own Bitcoin, but all the Bitcoin that Blockstream had, and he was dumping all of the hard fork coins on these exchanges, and I think Blockstream did quite well dumping those coins, and
that is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a whole Series B funding round right there.
Especially
Hey,
given
Jimmy,
that they've been holding everything in Bitcoin.
Yeah, you and I are getting compliments for covering the user activated soft fork back in 2017.
Yeah, dude, that was what an epic day that was. Remember, and we went for the full 8 hours, I think. And
yeah,
I think Max, you were watching and like commenting on chat.
Yeah,
we're like, Max, come in here, and you were
driving
like,
traffic. I was driving traffic. It was so exciting. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was.
When did it move? So Tone, you obviously like captured a lot of the. So I remember it was like the World Crypto Network, and then Bitcoin Uncensored, and then suddenly everything moved over to your show. When did you capture it all?
I captured a lot of it. It was the 2017 stuff, because that's when in 2017 it was still like half my. I started my channel in late 2016, and in 2017 I was like still on the World Crypto Network half the time, and on my own channel the other half the time. So it was like being split. But I captured a lot in 2018 when Bitcoin started to fall. So I remember in late 2017 picking up 30,000 Twitter followers a month for like 2 months straight. Like that 200,000 Twitter followers that I have, half of that came in like 3 months. At the last 2 months of 2017 and the first month of 2018. So like half my Twitter followers just came in those 3 months. And I've
same
been
with me. Like majority of mine came in 2017. Yep.
Yeah. So so
mine all came after the pump.
Yeah. So like in 2017, I wasn't like I was still talking shit about altcoins and stuff, but like the drive into Bitcoin brought a lot of people. And then in 2018, I remained pretty popular because I was right about the bear market. But like after that, like 2019 was not a very like I don't know, 2019 was just a weird year. Anyone else feel that way? Like the 2019 crypto year in crypto, it was just like
seriously, you're gonna put up 2019 against 2020?
You can't. 2020 has to win.
Well, no. I'm saying 2019 is gonna be the year that everyone's gonna forget. There was like that's like the forget, like that's like the year where nothing really happened.
I remember
a lot happened in development. Let's just say that real quick, though.
I remember 2018 so well just because we were at Satoshi Roundtable, and I remember everybody being depressed because Bitcoin fell to 5,000, and then they had that sad clown performing, and I remember just like I remember Rem saying,
because you two got me to quit drinking at Satoshi Roundtable.
But I remember the sad clown, and then Puddles, and then Charlie Shrem saying the funniest thing. He's like, we get it. Bitcoin's fucking falling. Fuck you.
That was the worst timing because Satoshi Roundtable takes place in the beginning of February, and Bitcoin fell from like mid-December to early February from 20,000 to 6. So that was like the worst timing.
Yes.
Terrible. We were hoping the cartel would show up and just blow our heads off.
Yeah. And I'm so gutted. 2021 looks like it's going to be the first year I miss a roundtable. It's like my highlight of the year. What do you reckon? Do you reckon we're going to have it next year?
They are having it.
They are?
It's whether or not
you're going to be on Zoom?
No, in real life, but it's whether or not you are brave enough to show up or fly down there or.
Hey guys, speaking of roundtable.
All right.
Yeah.
Guess who's joining us right now as we speak?
He obviously heard us talking about Satoshi Roundtable.
Yeah. He's like, I'm clicking this button. Yeah.
I was
got a spidey sense.
I was just retweeting
someone talking about the roundtable. I need to get in.
Maybe it's a law, like some sort of law that we're not allowed to talk about it, and that's why Bruce is coming on here to yell at us and say.
No, just whenever you talk about Satoshi Roundtable, Bruce shows up. That's what.
Yeah.
It's like Batman.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a bad signal whenever we talk about it.
Bruce, just get your camera and mic turned on. Yeah, we're talking about roundtable. Let's find out if it's gonna happen. Let's talk to the man himself.
There we go.
Hey.
How's it going?
We were just talking about you. Did you hear us talking about Satoshi?
Yeah, I have a special software. I'm in all forums at all times, always watching. So anybody who ever says anything, I'm there.
Okay, I don't want to be not nice to our guests or something, but dude, what happened to your beard? What the hell is that? You look like you've been out in the woods for like 6 months.
I have been, huh? Yeah, it's time for a shave, I suppose. But soon. I say that every day, any day now, though. Probably within a week, I'd say this will be going away. Same with the
Quarantine
long
beard.
hair.
Quarantine beard.
Lockdown beard.
Who's the Bitcoin motorist?
That's Patrick. I'm sure you've run into him in other events. He'll get his camera on in a minute. He's at all unconfiscatable events as well, so you've definitely met him. Bruce, hey, we're talking about Roundtable. Like I still
Are you
plan
gonna
to
have it
hold
next year?
Unconfiscatable. That's at the end of February.
Yeah, we've been
Vegas is
talking
open.
about that every day, as you can imagine. And it seems to be a consensus. There's quite a few people who want to go. And there's two interesting things we can do. One is, luckily, typically we've done it at fairly high-end resorts. So luckily they're pretty, high touch about this kind of thing. They disinfect your bags and everybody wears masks, and there's ways to separate people physically. Like, for example, they used to have buffets, and they'll just turn that into a customized thing where you basically have a buffet, but they bring your food. And then the other thing that we've looked into is there's actually high-speed testing that you can do. So if we have all of these really good, high-touch services to keep people separate, you have meetings outside, and then on top of that, you test people right when they come in, and you can get the tests back pretty quickly. That kind of creates your own little bubble as well. So I'm kind of conservative. I like to stay in. I'm very risk averse. From 26 years in crypto and trading makes me a risk averse person. So I say, whenever there's a downside, when you don't know the outcome, stay away. But a lot of people want to go. So I think if we can make it work and make it safe, then maybe it'll be smaller, maybe it'll be a half or a third the size. But for those who really want to get out of their cabin fever, it might be worth giving it a shot.
What do you say, Simon? Simon, are you up for flying across the Atlantic and going to Mexico?
I'm taking the conservative. I mean, I've done so much traveling over the last 10 years. I'm quite enjoying not traveling at the moment. I'm getting so much work done. But I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing. Like, I'm getting so much work done that it's like busier than I've ever been. But traveling always got in the way of me getting half these projects done. But for now, I'm quite enjoying. But yeah, I'm going to miss Satoshi Roundtable, because that's my highlight of the year, definitely, Bruce.
Yeah,
Max is a big fan of lockdown.
Yeah, I much prefer lockdown than all the traveling, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And it all started with Jimmy Song teaching Max how to make keto ice cream.
Yeah, I got the keto ice cream recipe from Jimmy Song, and then that just started a whole baking.
Wait, let's back that up a little bit. Jimmy, what's the recipe for keto ice cream?
Well, so it's kind of, I call it animal ice cream, but basically what I do is I put in about 12 to 24 egg yolks, just the yolks. Then some heavy whipping cream. So it's like the thickest cream that you can get. I'll usually put in some collagen powder and maybe even some cocoa powder if I want the flavor to be chocolate. And then I just mix those ingredients together. And and some sweetener, some sort of like keto sweetener, monk fruit sweetener, swerve, something like that. And then mix it all together and then throw it into an ice cream machine, and you get some really delicious ice cream. I've served it many times at my house. Tone, I'm not sure if you're coming for BitBlock Boomer or whatever, but if you are, then I can make you some.
I know I'm debating if I'm coming for that, and also do I want to go through Austin for that? It's I don't really want to stay home, but I don't want to deal with the COVID style travel. Like, I don't want to sit for 5 hours on an airplane with a mask. I'll have to use a bandana because masks are uncomfortable. So it's just a hassle. And if you leave the country, if you leave the country, like, for example, I had Willy Woo on my show the other day, and I asked him, because he's a New Zealand passport, and I think he's in Hong Kong, and he goes to Hong Kong, and they literally like digitally track him that he can't leave the apartment for 2 weeks. Like I don't want to go through like that kind of digital tracking. Like I don't want to end up somewhere and then not be able to get back to the States and then get forced to like, you know, not leave my hotel room for 2 weeks. That would be painful. Like as long as I can like, as long as I feel like I can leave the apartment if I want to, it's just mentally so much better.
Yeah, that's what Max and I were supposed to be in Montauk right now in New York, but because we live in North Carolina, like we're quarantined. We would have to quarantine for 14 days, and there's like a $2,000 fine, and they track you if you go. I mean, obviously they don't have high-tech tracking like Hong Kong, but you know, it was just too much of a hassle. It's like you can't do it.
Hey, so bringing it back to oh, sorry, go on.
As for the masks, try a P100. They're a lot more comfortable than some of the others.
Yeah.
Hey, so bringing it back to UASF, I've got a few questions. If is UASF an attack vector that we still like? Is this a risky thing that something could be forced into the code through this methodology? And how would everyone respond to the thought that a hard fork is a more democratic process, a soft fork is a less democratic process of, you know, forcing something in?
Oh, I think Luke should tackle that one. For me, as long as people like Luke are looking at the code, I'm kind of comfortable with whatever is getting in the code.
Even if the good changes were to use hard forks, that wouldn't stop a malicious change from trying to abuse a soft fork. So you might as well take advantage of making it easier.
Yeah, but how can we have a soft fork that isn't like forced in from a small group of people? And is that an attack vector to the decentralization?
I mean, if there was a small group of people trying to deploy a so-called soft fork, more of an attack at that point, without the community support, and the community was actually opposed to it, we would just have to deploy a soft fork blocking that activation. So basically, if there's too much signaling, the signaling blocks become invalid.
I don't think they could I don't think they could generate enough, development, enough people backing it and things like that to actually not convince the majority of people to just create a soft fork and cancel it out if it was something that was truly malicious.
Hey guys, I'm gonna pause that for a second. I want to introduce the lovely Alexandra onto the show. How are you? You're wearing a hat. You're joining myself and Vortex.
I am, of course. Yes. It's an important day, so it's good to celebrate it.
How's life in Canada?
Life's okay. We're still kind of under soft quarantine. We have a little bit of an uptick, but for the most part, people are kind of going back to normal. Really what's been nice is the ability to spend so much more time outside and kind of reconnect with those pursuits. So that's been really good.
Hey, is that Samson Mao on your shelf in the back?
That is.
all four of the crypto friends, it looks like.
Yeah, your audio sounds really good, by the way. You definitely have the podcasting game top notch.
Thank you.
Right,
It's a Rode mic.
Were you around for the user activated soft fork? Were you covering it? What were you up to back then?
Yeah, so I was just getting into Bitcoin then. So I kind of missed the whole soft fork part. It was early summer of 2017 when I got into Bitcoin. So yeah, I didn't get involved in any of the drama. I wasn't recording any shows on Bitcoin just yet. The podcast was up for about 6 months though, but we were focusing more on open source and more technology versus just, so more Linux stuff and things like that. Oh,
can't hear you.
Hey, Tone, you're muted.
My bad. You guys definitely had a lot of Canadians driving the user-activated soft fork bus from Rodolfo Novak and
Francis Pulio.
Yeah. So there was definitely a lot coming out of there. Oh, and Samson Mao himself, he's also from Vancouver.
Well, he's Victoria, and Victoria and China. He goes between the two places.
Bitcoin
Hey,
motorist is
yeah,
here too.
I was about to get him in the show. Hey man, you were around during those days, that's for sure. What stands out the most to you about the summer of 2017?
Yeah, so before I get to the summer of 2017, I want to talk about February of 2017 because this whole drama was going on for like pretty much the whole year. First of all, I want to say hello to everyone, Max, Stacy, Simon, Joe, Bruce, good to see you. So good to see everybody on the call, and Jimmy and Tony.
Morris, in February, I was debating Roger over this shit at Acapulco.
Right, and I think people forget. I mean, we look back at it now and we look at it fondly, and even some people who weren't even around back then, I think people forget how scary that time was, because here was this charismatic leader, Roger Ver, who was respected in the field. Here's this company called Bitmain, which is one of the biggest miners in Bitcoin, and these two groups were thinking of forking off, and this was a scary time. And it wasn't until maybe March or April of that year where I kind of felt like the tide was starting to turn, and we were starting to win, and I think the users were starting to win. But early on in the year, everyone was like, "Oh, there's no way SegWit's going to activate." You know, people who were for and against SegWit were both saying, "There's no way we're getting 95%." And, we're going to have two different coins. One is going to be mined by Bitfury and one's going to be mined by Bitmain. And it's going to be two competing currencies. So it was actually a really, really scary time. And to go back to February of 2017, first of all, I remember running into Bruce Fenton there at Acapulco for the first time, and I'm going to take credit for Bruce moving to New Hampshire, because I talked to him about moving to New Hampshire at Acapulco, and I gave him some suggestions of what areas to move to, and I believe he moved to one of the areas that I kind of suggested to him. So I'm going to take partial credit for that, Bruce, and welcome to New Hampshire. But of course, we've been here for a few years, but at that Acapulco, Trace Mayer was one of the speakers at that Acapulco, and Trace Mayer was on our side. He was for the for the small blocker side. And I asked Trace Mayer while he was on stage. I asked him, I'm like, well, what can we do? What can we do? What can a user do? And he didn't have any good answers. And I said, well, can't we just run SegWit nodes? So when I first heard the user activated soft fork, it was like, oh, obviously that's kind of what I suggested at Acapulco. I said, yeah, we should, the users, because we have a say in running a node. And to anybody, a lot of shitcoiners say that nodes is not important. I tell them to look back at the ETC, I think it was a 51% attack that Ethereum Classic had like a couple of years ago, and nobody could figure out what the heck was going on in Ethereum Classic because nobody was running an Ethereum Classic node. So it had to be Pierre Richard, who was telling everyone, hey, what's going on in the Ethereum Classic? Is there a 51% attack? And everyone was like, I don't know. Nobody knew what that, and to this day, maybe we still don't even know what the heck happened in that 51% attack. So
it might just be because nobody cares.
That too, that's probably a big deal. And good to talk to you again, Luke. There's one thing I wanted to say about Luke, because I listened to the Pompliano Roger Ver interview this morning. I didn't get through all of it, but I got through half of it. So I got about an hour or so in. And there was, and of course, Roger mentioned Luke in that interview. But here's what he said. He said that he was at a Bitcoin meetup in the Bay Area with Luke Dashjr and Eric Lombroso and Brian Bishop. And there was 100 people at that meetup, and 97 people wanted to use Bitcoin for payments. And the only 3 people who stood up and said you shouldn't use Bitcoin for payments was Luke, Eric, and Brian. And he's like, here are these new people in Bitcoin who have come in and and who are telling people not to use Bitcoin as payments. And this is what Roger was saying at the interview. And I'm thinking to myself, what does he mean by new people? Because as far as I know, first of all, I'm pretty sure Luke was involved in Bitcoin before Roger. Second of all, I think Eric and Roger kind of started getting into Bitcoin at the same time. And Brian Bishop, he got into Bitcoin in 2013, but he was actually messaged by Satoshi back in 2009. So to say that these are new people, and the second point I wanted to make about that is so which advice was better? Was it better in 2016 to listen to Roger Ver and spend your Bitcoin, or was it better in 2016 to listen to Luke, Eric, and Brian and not spend your Bitcoin? So even looking back on it in hindsight, it seems like obvious that Luke was right on that.
Oh, I suspect the whole story's made up anyway. I mean, where's the other 96 people who were there?
Probably. Hopefully they listen to you and not Roger.
Well, they're probably working for Bitcoin.com actually, but yeah.
I wanna mimic that. It was like if you can go back to 2010, where people kept saying WikiLeaks should start using Bitcoin, and even Satoshi said no. So it's you can take this argument back pretty far, and look, Bitcoin usage scales really nicely with Bitcoin's value and the technology under Bitcoin. And you know what? It's kind of great. Look, Lightning has been developing probably a little slower than even I expected, but I'm happy with it. And when real adoption comes next year, I think Lightning will finally be ready. And as always with Bitcoin, ready just in time.
It's really true, Tone. Everything, a lot of people mention this, that everything comes to Bitcoin right at the right time. And that's because there is a huge amount of people that are passionate, that are actually trying to get this project off the ground. Grassroots is how it started, and grassroots really is how it still goes through and through. People are funding developers. There's been a huge amount of activity lately of people actually sponsoring, Bitcoin Core open source development. And that's absolutely great to see, because this is why everything comes just in time for Bitcoin, because there's so many people, smart people, super smart people that are highly focused on getting this project out and ready. And just one quick thing on Lightning. Lightning is just about to open up Wumbo channels, which is essentially, we will now be able to have unlimited capacity in channels very soon. And that's huge for Lightning, because they've reduced it on purpose, the capacity amount, so that we can have beta testing and things like that. But once that opens up, and then once the exchanges start using it, and then once all the wallets start using it, I mean, this is going to flood in, especially as the transaction fees inevitably rise when they continue to print fiat like freaking crazy, and Bitcoin keeps having. So
well, Tone, you're muted. But the big thing about Lightning that I think a lot of people are missing is that it's not just a payments network. Like there's already end-to-end encryption, encrypted messaging and things like that on it. This really can be Internet 2.0, one that's got payments natively put in there. There are people talking about interesting applications like a decentralized Twitter, where you every Lightning node essentially can tweet its own stuff and keep its own data and not have to be censored by anybody. And anyone who wants to can go in and go get the tweets and subscribe and maybe even pay for them. So in a sense, like this whole Lightning, like when I first heard about it, I thought of it as like quick payments. And I think a lot of people coming into Bitcoin also had that sort of same sense. Oh, this is a good thing for payments. But much like Bitcoin, Lightning is going to be much bigger than just payments. I think it's going to be something where people are going to be able to pay for data essentially, and it's going to push the boundaries of edge computing and things like that. And it's going to take a while to get there, because it's I think the vision of Lightning has expanded far beyond what we thought of when Dashjr wrote that white paper. So it'll be interesting going forward.
Real quick, what I've been thinking about it for the past couple of years is it really is Bitcoin's application layer. Bitcoin does have, of course, simple smart contract and a simple smart contracting language, which is getting improved with things like simplicity. But really, Lightning is the application layer. Lightning is where application developers like myself can now begin thinking about these Web3 type of situations like Jimmy was just describing. That's really where the mainstream developers start to come in, because protocol development is freaking hard. It is one of the hardest things. Jimmy knows this. He teaches this. This is one of the hardest types of development that there is. But application development, on layers above the stack, above that protocol, like Lightning, is really where Bitcoin can shine for regular developers who aren't protocol developers. And that is going to usher in, and I see it now, the beginnings of it being ushered in, all of these new applications, all these new ideas, all of these things. They're running, they're running markets now. If you go to LN markets, you can see that they're actually running exchanges type of activity over the top of Lightning right now, before it even is fully ready to go, like before we even open up unlimited channels, right? So this is unlimited channel capacity. So this is now beginning to take shape as this application layer that can connect anything and anyone with Bitcoin, including projects like Jack Mallers LN Strike, that connects literally the old banking system to Lightning, which of course settles to Bitcoin. So this is why I've been saying for a couple of years now that eventually all financial commerce will run over the top of Lightning and then settle finally into Bitcoin. This is kind of the future of Bitcoin. This is the future of finance, and it's the future of the internet as it is, the true promise of internet of money, Web 2.0 applications.
Yeah, no, well said, Vortex. We got a couple of, I'm keeping an eye on a live chat here.
Hey,
got
Tone, I'm gonna drop out here. There's a lot of people who need to speak, so I just wanted to say a few words and thanks for having me on. And I'll listen in. Maybe I'll just come back later.
Look, I don't know. So stick around a little bit longer. We're good. We don't have like 20 people like last time, even though like 50 people were invited. But feel free to stick around a little bit longer. So we got two really good questions. One is for Luke, since we're on the lightning topic. Luke, if you can hear me, unmute. Just what are your thoughts about lightning? And after that, question for the the former bankers here, which is Bruce, Max, and Simon. What do you guys think about the new custodianship approval that has taken place with the U.S. government? So Luke, let's go to you first.
Lightning's good.
All right.
I haven't been following the technology too closely. Last time I tried to set up a Lightning node, I lost the testnet coins I put in it.
Oh my god.
Those are valuable too. The testnet.
That was a while ago.
Nobody has any.
That was a while ago. Well, you can get testnet coins easily. Just modify the miner to set the wrong timestamp, and you have them with a CPU miner.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, you can do it, but it's yeah.
If your time is worth anything, you're not going to do it for a profit.
Yeah, no. I've been able to get them from nice people on IRC who have like many tens of thousands somehow. So yeah, it's not too bad.
So question on the banking side. Well, let's talk about Bitcoin custody by the banks. What's going on? Simon, have at it.
So custody, I mean, I personally, I know like the hardcore Bitcoiners is not your keys, not your coins. I totally buy into that. But I also think that people in the future, they do need to protect themselves from themselves. And personally, I do hedge some of my Bitcoin by having someone custody, just in case everything goes wrong with the keys that I'm managing. So I personally think that custody is an important part of the equation, and people need to do that. I actually have bought Bitcoins from my bank. I use a crypto-friendly bank, and it's very convenient just to be able to call up the OTC desk. They can just transfer the funds. They can get me some Bitcoin. They know all my KYC, source of funds, source of wealth, all that type of stuff that you have to do when you're intersecting with the fiat to Bitcoin place. And it gives me all the records that I need as well. So that if I spend it took me 9 months to purchase a house with Bitcoin because I had to try and prove to them that I didn't actually obtain those Bitcoins from the proceeds of crime. So, but at the same time,
really, really important. Was Bitcoin rising during those 9 months?
No, it was actually, interestingly, Tether saved me in this one because I tethered the Bitcoin to the exact value that I wanted to purchase a house. And this was right in the beginning of 2018.
When you said Tether. Yeah. I'm afraid to look at the live chat now, but go
on. So I had to tether it in because I didn't have a crypto-friendly bank at that time. And I was trying to get it into the bank that wasn't crypto-friendly. And so Tether was actually like something that really helped during that time, just so I could know that this is the amount of Bitcoin that this house is going to cost me. But it would have cost me a lot more Bitcoin if I wasn't able to do that. But I think the important part with the bank stuff is I'm a big fan of the trust structure. So I like the legal structure of a trust. I like the fact that legally people, if I'm holding something in custody, they legally don't have entitlement to that. So it's the rehypothecation that's the issue. So if it turns out that Bitcoin, I would rather custody with a non-bank rather than a bank, because if it turns out that they're taking excessive risks with their balance sheet, and if we enter another systemic risk event like we did in 2018, which I think is next to come, then I'd really be interested in who has legal entitlement to those Bitcoin if you do it via a bank. So my job, the integration of being able to purchase with your fiat currency or being able to sell easily and go in and out with a bank is very convenient, but actually custodying it with a bank, I'd much rather do that with a non-bank than a bank if I'm not going to hold my own key.
regulation was just passed in the US that allows basically every single bank to be a Coinbase. So that's just an inevitability that banks will hold Bitcoin for you and allow you to buy and sell it.
Well, what's
Yeah, but the important part is who actually can they leverage it? What's the legal structure behind?
Not in Wyoming. That's you know, Caitlin Long really embedded that into. That's her like pet peeve is rehypothecation. So it's in the law there that you can't rehypothecate. But also, I mean, Bruce probably knows this better, but in the U.S. Pension funds, you know, in terms of them getting into Bitcoin, they're not allowed to custody their own coins. So they need a bank like Fidelity or other big banks to be able to custody it for them.
Yeah, I think it's huge from that standpoint. You know, you have this. There's a whole bunch of different types of entities that can't really buy Bitcoin in the current system because they're just not able to custody that way, you know, and so like, you know, not just pensions, but also financial advisors. I'm a financial advisor. I've had, you know, a regular financial advisor can easily have 50 or $100 million under management. And a successful one can have, you know, 500 million or $1 billion or whatever. And so nobody wants to take that kind of risk that, you know, a small financial advisory firm could risk, you know, people coming in with guns or, you know, super high. When you're talking tens and tens of millions, you have a whole much higher level of hackers and things like that you have to worry about. So, you know, avoiding that is a big benefit for like small financial or even mid-size and large financial advisors and brokers and things like that. Even large publicly traded companies don't want to have that risk that you're going to have, you know, an organized mafia attack if a dozen people come in, start shooting because they can walk away with $50 million. It's just too high of a risk.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same reason that I wouldn't custody my gold with a bank and I'd rather go with a custodian. I mean, obviously the ideal is that you have the gold on you, but gold is difficult. So that's why most of it is stored in Switzerland and Singapore, because you don't want to end up.
Singapore is great. Good idea.
You don't want to end up with the bank getting in trouble and your gold being in one of their assets on their balance sheet, and you end up with a bunch of gold stock, bank stock in the next systemic risk event. So I wouldn't be storing it with a bank, but I think it's very convenient to switch in and out in the FX markets.
Yeah, no, I love the way these banks are just tiptoeing into the industry, tiptoeing into Bitcoin. And, you know, as the game theory is playing out on the banking level. And it seems like banking industry, especially with 0% interest rates, they're searching for products, right? They need stuff to make money, and they see these folks doing yield farming and what have you. That's typically what they were doing. I mean, they used to be in that business. Now people are lending out coins and getting interest rate differentials and things like that. So they need to. It's like when Napster was introduced, right? It ultimately led to Spotify, right? So the whole industry was completely changed. So the banking industry is now undergoing this change because of Bitcoin. So anyone who's been in it for a while knows that this was going to happen, and now they're all scrambling to figure out how to not get Napsterized, how to not get disintermediated, how not to get put out of business. So this is the first step in that process, and it's a transformation.
I'm not sure it's good for Bitcoin though.
I don't think it makes any difference to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on its own path, right? It's marching to its own path, and it's taking us all with it, right?
Bitcoin is indifferent. Like, it's just a protocol, right? So
right,
all it knows how to do is grow.
If too many Bitcoins are held at banks, then that opens the door for
which is why there's, you know, podcasts like Tones that hopefully reminds people to run their own full nodes.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting. Are they going to be using, like, where are they actually going to be held? Is it going to be a BitGo? Are they going to be held at Fidelity? Are they going to start doing it themselves? You know, how much paper Bitcoin are we going to have? Is it going to go down the route of the gold market where you have more paper gold than physical gold exists? I think this is the direction that they'll probably take it.
We'll try, but we got full nodes, Simon. That's the main difference between paper gold.
All right, guys, we have someone new joining us. Ryan, you want to unmute? Tell us a little something about yourself.
Hey, folks. I'm Ryan Gentry. I'm working on Lightning stuff, yet to be announced Lightning stuff. Excited to be here. Thank you, Vortex, for the invite. a little late, but my ears were burning. As I was coming upstairs, I heard you guys were talking about Lightning just a little bit ago, and so I had to jump on.
Awesome.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day, Ryan. So it's like
Ryan can really tell you. Ryan can tell you what's going on with Lightning, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, Jimmy and I were talking about this over barbecue just a couple nights ago.
Yeah. So what's your prospect on Lightning? Where do you see the future of Lightning going?
Well, it's really interesting, right? Like we are seeing. My take on it is like what Linux was to the desktop, Lightning is going to be to coffee payments, right? Like that's always going to be the goal that everybody aspires to, is we need coffee bought with Lightning, and that's just not where it's going to take off. Where we're seeing it really take off is in these interesting places in the margin, right? So for instance, Sphinx.chat and Stackwork is this really, really interesting application where it's like Mechanical Turk, but global, permissionless, and over Lightning. So anybody with a smartphone can download this app and earn sats for tagging pictures for machine learning data sets. And all of a sudden, like you have all of this permissionless workforce all across the world who, it's mostly in third world countries. They previously weren't able to have a job, and now they can earn money from their homes, in their beds. All they need is a smartphone, right? And so that's like really starting to get some traction. The other place that we're starting to see like some real traction is with these stats back games. So like Fold with their little spinny wheel. Casa had their Sats app, which was, you checked in on your node with a heartbeat and got a couple Sats every day. Those apps are seeing just like ridiculous engagement. It's like, double-digit percentage of their users are checking into the app every single day, which, Facebook and all of the other social media apps would kill for those type of numbers. And it's just having like a little Lightning faucet embedded in your app, right? And so we're seeing it kind of take off in these weird places on the margin that you wouldn't really expect. But I think, those are the places where it starts taking off. The network starts getting more liquid. Payment starts succeeding better. And all of a sudden it kind of opens the floodgates for more and more applications, more and more adoption. And the flywheel will just start spinning. Right. And so I'm obviously incredibly bullish on the future. And I'm very encouraged by where we are right now, right as the fees start picking up, right as kind of more mainstream adoption gets going, that all the infrastructure is kind of in place. All the players are kind of secure in their positions, and that we're starting to find some areas where we're really getting some traction.
Hey, Ryan, were you around for the user-activated soft fork big debates? No? Too young?
No, I was not. I bought I'm, especially in this chat, I'm very new to Bitcoin. I bought my very first Bitcoin in March of 2017, trying to buy a VPN subscription without really releasing any personal identifying information. And that was hard. So no, I wasn't around.
It really shouldn't be that hard, but I can see how it was.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, so you didn't get into Bitcoin. You got into Bitcoin for utility. You didn't get into Bitcoin for speculation.
Yeah, I am actually not sarcastically in it for the tech. I mean, I'm in it for the money too, but was primarily for the tech.
I love it.
And no, that's great. This is where we get finally back into the show, because she's been quiet.
You know what's interesting is this is a good moment to get me back in, because he was just talking about Lightning and the use cases for adoption and things like Fold app, right? Which are inherently sort of not where you guys are coming from, not your relationship to the space whatsoever. What he's talking about is there's a spin wheel on Fold app and people can get small like fractions of Satoshis each day and play with it. What I think that's kind of interesting about that is like me coming from such a far removed place in the, I guess, landscape of Bitcoin over over time and in the landscape of what adoption is starting to look like. When that feature came out on the Fold app, I was actually the #3 refer, like the day that it came out and on for the next few months. And it's really cool to hear that they're getting those double digits numbers and it's taking off. But I think that it says something really interesting about the adoptive state that we're in right now, that the technology that's happening on the back end is actually able to elaborate itself to a common consumer audience, and that someone with a platform like mine, which is like completely different, you know, I don't use technical jargon, I don't talk about a lot of these topics, and I'm having a great time learning from you guys right now. But it is interesting to see how you can utilize and leverage a brand similar to mine to actually promote adoption of something like Lightning, especially in these apps. So I just had those thoughts while he was talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other really interesting thing about this is so much of the discussion around Lightning is around spending, right? And I'm sure everybody on this call can agree that spending your Bitcoin is not anything that is in your top list of priorities, right? But the really cool thing about these embedded faucets and these kind of these earning profiles of this kind of micro earning stuff that's happening on Lightning is that you don't, it's like there's a well-known phenomenon, the curse of mental accounting, that when you earn small amounts of money that you didn't really expect, you treat it differently than money that, you know, like Bitcoins that you purchased with dollars, right? You view it kind of as funny money. You don't account for it as if it's, you know, on your balance sheet. So all of a sudden with these earning platforms taking off, we have, you know, thousands to tens of thousands. I don't know how many users these apps have, but, you know, hundreds of thousands of people who all of a sudden have these small amounts of Bitcoin that they're kind of willing to spend, right? Because they just earned it, you know, didn't really take much effort to grab it. And all of a sudden they have this really small balance that, you know, I would totally take 100 sats out of my Fold balance or out of my Sphinx balance and bust through a paywall with it, right? Because I just have it, it's there on my phone. It's not a big problem. I don't really think about it. It's a much lower lift mentally than, you know, pulling out my 3 hardware wallets, you know, releasing some funds from my cold storage, opening up a new channel, and then making the payment, right? So all of a sudden, like, we kind of have this unique situation where we have all of these people with Lightning wallets that have all of these funds that they don't necessarily want to hold too tightly. And I think we're opening the door for the kind of micropayments to really get started, or at least for people like Finally to maybe take donations or embed kind of micropayments in their content. And you may see a little bit of uptick in people that have, you know, either the Strike app or one of these different really user-friendly ways willing to part with some sats, which opens up, you know, once we get real micropayments on the internet, like that opens up for just brand new business models, right? You have kind of ads and subscriptions on the two ends right now, but there's a whole massive design space in the middle that we can start experimenting with once we have a lot of micropayments and a lot of Lightning wallets out there with money being willing to spend.
Just on the psychology of that, you know, it is really interesting the way that people do sort of disregard it, but then later get into an adoptive phase with it. I did something similar. I don't know if you've ever seen a CoinKit on Twitter. It's an instant tip bot, right? So way back when the CoinKit guys gave me a bunch of sats and like a bunch of Digibyte to give away. And I felt the same way. I'm like, okay, I have all of this and it's within the CoinKit bot. So what is it? It's not really Satoshis. It's not really Digibyte. I gave it all away. I got a bunch of I'm not going to curse. I got a bunch of flack for hosting this 2 Digibyte giveaway. There were articles written about it. It was a whole mess. Later, I was to find out that all the Digibyte I gave away in that giveaway would amount to about $10,000 today. So it is interesting to watch how that does accrue over time and the psychology that is behind using something like those instant tip payments and how that's going to change as, you know, the worth of the coins continues to go up.
Yeah.
So that's how I lost $10,000 on CoinKit.
Well, you know, you live and you learn, right?
At least you didn't buy a pizza, right?
I didn't even get a pizza. I got nothing.
Hey, so let's stick with Lightning for a second, because there's it's really interesting because a lot of people continue to demonize Lightning and it's not coming fast enough and it's not going to work and this and that. And meanwhile, no one is really using Bitcoin that much anyway. So people, so what do you guys think it is? Is it like, are they just blatantly listening to bad advice? Or do they think that everyone wants to spend crypto when in reality most people don't? Like I had to create fiat payments for my services, like workshops and conferences, and the majority of the people pay in fiat, not in Bitcoin, and it has nothing to do with transaction fees or speed, because I don't charge anything under $100 for any of the things that I do. There's no micropayments involved, and nobody wants to pay in crypto. So
yeah, we're still so we just did a few funding rounds at Bank to the Future. We had, so in the last month we've had about 20 million invested in a couple of rounds. One of them was Samson Mao's Infinite Fleet game, which is a liquid security token. We did the Celsius network. I'd say about 60% of it was still invested in crypto, 40% fiat. So it's the pain point still. Like I think once you're in crypto, people still like they find it easier to transact but the people that are new to it, like, yeah, they just don't want to do that.
I think in 2020, people are going to want to get rid of their dollars more than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, and that's Tom. What's interesting about that is if you think about it, right? Like, even though of course we all are very bearish on the dollar, you know, us here in the Western world, we have really good payments infrastructure, right? Like I can send dollars to anybody in the U.S. very easily, very cheaply, very quickly. Competing with that is just not really all that good of an idea, right?
Like how do you exactly, how do you compete with Venmo or PayPal peer-to-peer or Zelle with like Chase Bank? Like it's instant and it's free.
It's the international markets, because still I still find Swift very, very painful. Like so many things can go wrong with so many people in the middle of that payment. And when you've got intermediary banks, and if you're with a crypto friendly bank, it's sat on top of a clearing bank, and then you've got 9 different banks and institutions in the middle to make that international payment. When you're in your own rails and within your own domestic currency, then yeah, that's pretty tight.
But like I'm just starting to get into something like TransferWise, but there are starting to, and Richard Branson I think has something. So you are getting these international like online banks that will let you have accounts. You have a bank account. It's a virtual bank account, and you can have like 20 different currency accounts in 20 different currencies under the same bank account.
Yeah, I mean that was what gave Hong Kong its uniqueness. That's like you log into your online banking with a Hong Kong bank, and you've just got this massive list of currencies, and they make it so easy. So if we're starting to see that through fintech companies, that's great. But still, international payments are still, like, money can go missing. You get it in the end, but you can just have weeks where it's lost in this crazy system of trying to message between these different banking systems. It's still awful, the international banking.
It sounds kind of like Lightning, except without the cryptographic guarantees.
Well, and not just this, but people forget this too, because a lot of people are talking about, oh, Bitcoin for third world countries and Bitcoin, you know, the fees are too high. But people need to look at history and see that third world countries usually use leapfrog technologies, right? Like they didn't have landlines, they have cell phones. So essentially what Lightning is building right now, within the next couple of years, that's what third world countries will be using. They'll be using these type of apps that are using Lightning right on their phone, and they'll be leapfrogging the actual base chain, because they don't need the base chain. They can settle to it if they want, of course, at any time, because Bitcoin is open, but for the most part, like they can keep most of their sats, you know, on Lightning and within Lightning and in the Lightning ecosystem, because as the channels, you know, really start, as more and more channels start opening up, you'll be able to send sats anywhere via Lightning.
Lightning isn't secure unless you're using your own full node still.
Right. And of course, I was just speaking about third world countries and things like that. Like there'll be some, you know, company that can facilitate for others and things like that as well. But it'll always be open for Bitcoin, and Lightning is always open though for anybody who wants to run their own full node. That's important.
But unless most people run their own full node, Bitcoin as a whole is compromised.
Yep. So one like interesting thing about that I just recently learned was there's a guy in Nigeria who's raising money right now for a full node project, trying to sell full nodes in Nigeria, kind of like the Nodl or something like that. And he wants to get a bunch of people on Lightning, exactly like Vortex was saying, kind of leapfrogging their payments infrastructure. The problem in Nigeria is not the internet, right? Everybody there has 4G or better mobile connectivity. The problem is the energy infrastructure. They have, multiple hours of power outages per day. That is just, that's a common occurrence, right? And it's tough to keep a full node synced, and it's especially tough to keep a Lightning node synced if you're out of power. So they have kind of some different problems. What he's trying to do to solve that is to attach a solar panel to them. So hopefully that works. But I think there's kind of like, there's three really good ways to compete, right? There's exactly like Simon was saying, payments across borders or payments that are too small for the existing fiat rails to deal with, right? Which is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The second one that's really interesting is more of kind of Web3 stuff, the encrypted peer-to-peer messaging, right? Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but over the last several years, just about every encrypted messaging app launched their own token, right? Telegram tried to launch their own token. I don't think that's actually going to happen. Signal had mobile coin that they were going to try and integrate, and I don't know if that's actually happened. A bunch of the Chinese or of the Japanese ones, Line had their own token, Kakao in Korea had their own token. All of these ones, because none of these messaging apps have a business model, especially the private encrypted ones have a business model because they can't sell ads and they can't sell user data, right? So I think that's a really interesting area for Lightning to compete, where if you have your full node at home and you have your keys on your mobile device and you're able to sign messages peer-to-peer, end-to-end encrypted, routed through the Lightning network instead of a central server, that's a really compelling architecture, especially because the app provider has a built-in business model, right? They can charge a sat per message or something like that. And if people are sending, whatever the average American, I think, sends like 80 messages per day, and you have a couple 100,000 users, all of a sudden that turns into a pretty good business.
They can charge subsats. They can charge subsats as well, even smaller than subsats.
Yeah, no, that sounds absolutely incredible. Luke, you want to say something?
Yeah, doesn't linking your Lightning wallet to your chat compromise the privacy?
So if you're chatting, it's like, it'd be the same thing as sending payments, right? It's just that there is an embedded message inside the payment, inside the blob that the payment has, right? So your pub key, instead of using your phone number or your OAuth token from Twitter or something like that as your login, you're using your pub key as kind of your identifier. Which I think you can rotate your pub keys. I don't know. We need to talk to Roast Beef to see what the status of that is. I think you can rotate your pub keys on your node, which is, the thing with Lightning though is like, unless you have a private node and all private channels, like by definition, you have these long-lived channels, you have a long-lived identity on your node, which kind of means that you are public in a sense, right? It's not tied to your personal information, especially if you take precautions, because it's all self-sovereign. You just set up a secret key and generate all your Lightning information that way. But it becomes this really interesting thing for the web where, like, previously, if you wanted to have any sort of, for everything, you need to either enter an email address, a phone number, or log in with one of these social media giants, right?
I'm comparing it to Briar, where you just generate a key, and that is your identity. Yeah.
So it would be the same sort of thing. And maybe the right way to do it is instead of using your pub key yourself, you generate, a key based on that information rather than using it directly. That would probably be a more private way to do so. But the fact that you can send messages routed through the network that are, onion encrypted or encrypted onion blobs, that's pretty interesting. And people are starting to experiment with it now. Again, Sphinx.chat is the one that I really like. They have a really nice user interface.
All right, cool. And Ryan, when you were saying about how all these messaging apps creating their own tokens, reminded me of a very popular tweet that Vortex sent out a little while back. I'm sure I see him smiling, so he knows exactly what tweet I'm talking about. So I'll let you on mute and say it verbatim.
Well, are you talking about the one where I got
Why
into
you got
the
into the
space? Yeah,
space,
yeah.
yeah.
So basically, yeah, I mean, I still retweet that every once in a while because it seems to be completely lost. But I essentially tweeted out that, look, I originally got into the space because people were printing money. Now it seems that's just what everybody wants to do. That's the only thing that everybody wants to do.
Right. You get into Bitcoin and crypto
crazy.
because you listen to someone like Max Keiser, and who seems to dropped off the show. But I don't realize when people drop off the show. You listen to Max Keiser and others, and the government is printing money. I'm gonna get into something like crypto and Bitcoin so that I can get away from the money printing. And then everyone around you in crypto just wants to print their own money.
And it was very sudden. Like it was all of the sudden in 2017, really, that it just all came all of the sudden. And it just blew my mind. Like everybody was just this kind of, anti-bank, self-sovereign kind of stuff, anti-central bank anyway, self-sovereign kind of stuff. No freaking printing money. 21 million is the sacred number, and all of a sudden just everybody printing. And it really happened so quickly that it blew my mind. And that apparently was on a lot of people's minds because that tweet did really well.
Everybody, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to have to shoot off now. I've really enjoyed it. 3 years on. Nice to meet you all if I haven't met you in person. But thanks for having me again, Tone.
Yep. And hey, the next time we do one of these massive streams, it's going to be Bitcoin's birthday, January 3rd. So put that day on your calendar. I'm going to prep for that one. We're going to try and, get like another 50 people on. It'll be fun.
Nice.
All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, Simon.
See you, Simon.
Bye.
Later, Simon.
Bye, Simon.
That'll be
All right, Jimmy, you're
around
back.
my one.
I am back.
Hey, how was the Bitcoin Magazine is streaming as well today, right? What's going on over there?
I think I was on there. Luke was on there. I think several other people might have been on there. I'm not sure. But, I was promoting my book and talking about Bitcoin Independence Day there. I think their stream is still going. I think it's going to be for another 5 hours or so.
All right, cool. I'm gonna shoot over there. I'm curious how many views they have.
Hey, Tone, earlier you said you were talking about Brave the World's Bitcoin independence. So I just wanted to say a couple things about that. So recently on July 4th, I was on Ugly Old Goat stream. I believe you were on there too for a bit. But they actually played that entire clip on his stream. It's called the Bitcoin Declaration of Independence. That's what the actual YouTube video is. And it's amazing to watch that because it was back in like 2014 or something when that video came out. And you see all these different people, including Roger Ver in that video clip, who are talking about declaring their independence. And then how quickly things change when a lot of these people who were Bitcoiners back in 2014 have turned into, enemies of Bitcoin, it seems.
Yeah, it's really incredible. There's very few people that when I was joining the space back in 2013, the people that I was, wow, this is really the people that were educating me about Bitcoin in 2013, like all but the small fraction of them, I've already like left for the other side. Max is still with us, and that's like almost it. Everyone else has either started their own altcoin or whatever, like Roger.
Or just sold out and started working for Coinbase.
Yeah. Hey guys, so we're doing well. We have 700 live viewers right now, and I was just curious how many we're losing to Bitcoin Magazine's live stream, and we're not losing any, so it's all good.
Yeah, what's
still though,
interesting?
shout out to Bitcoin Magazine though. They do good work.
No, they do great work. They do great work.
So I don't know if you've noticed, but the number of viewers and the last 3 digits of the Bitcoin price seem to be competing and going.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
if you guys watch, if you get more people to watch, the price might go up. That's all.
I still remember early 17 when Jimmy Song started to be active on social media, and he crossed 1,100 followers, and it was matching the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's go take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on. Oh wait, there is like a live chat in our chat. Am I missing something? Nope, you guys are just chatting amongst yourself. All right, yeah. So here we are with the price of Bitcoin. We are approaching 11,800. What was today's high? Or what was the overall high? The overall high was
11.8. Yeah.
11,763, and in the last 4 hours, I think we're gonna break it. I think if we hang out here another hour or two, I think we're gonna get to 11.8. To be honest with you guys, like I just don't see what's stopping it. We can go to the 1 hour
There's
chart.
really not much. I mean, like Joe Saz said, I mean, there's just so much momentum. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like this looks great. Once we get above, 11,750, there's really nothing here. Well, I can definitely see us hitting 11.8 before the stream's over.
How much would we have to throw at it to get up there?
Not much. Probably, maybe, I don't know. If someone market buys like $50,000 worth of Bitcoin on some of these exchanges, they'll probably push us there.
Maybe even less.
Yeah, they're not that liquid.
So that's like 1,000 per person that's watching.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's go. Let's go.
Come on, guys, $1,000. Do it right now on Cash App. Cash App.
Because listen, when this goes, it's gonna go quick.
Let's check out the mempool. Let's see what's going on the mempool side of the equation.
Yeah, so there hasn't been a block found in like 30 something minutes. So we're seeing some of that right now. But yeah, fees are rather high. I think the average, the next block's going to be like 165 sats per byte on average for that block. The one after is going to be more reasonable at 70, and then the one after that is about 21. But that's because we haven't had a block in something like 40 minutes. So that's 35 minutes. So yeah, it has reduced significantly since yesterday, and it did clear a lot overnight. I think in the 10 range. I think it cleared 10 sats per byte overnight. But it's, there's some price action. There's some excitement around this stuff. Maybe people are buying on Cash App and sending it to their, devices or something like that. So, So the problem right now is that we had like 5 blocks in like 20 minutes, and then now we haven't had anything in like 35.
Hey, so
the mempool has definitely been a little clogged. Go ahead, Maurice.
Sorry, I had a joke to say, but somebody in the troll box already said it. They said SEC has entered the chat. So just for the comment that we just made.
Oh, perfect. Hey, I invited the lawyers. None of them showed up. Hey, what do you guys think about the whole legal side? It's like, it feels like the regulator wheels on a lot of these scammers in the crypto space, they're moving really slow. And when the hammers drop down, it drops down on like the wrong projects. Like Telegram, of all freaking projects, had like the full wrath of the SEC. It just like seems like weird.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's pretty strange.
I don't know if it's strange more than it is just sort of people that are easy to go after and easy wins for the regulator. I mean, if you think like a regulator, it's how many scalps can I get and how can I make myself look good in front of my bosses? It's really all they're.
That's a great point, Jimmy. And people never really seem to think about it from the regulator's point of view. Because look, we'd love for them to take all these scams down, EOS and all these things, but that's just that's not a low-hanging fruit for them.
No. That's why, like, Russian mobs can do whatever the hell they want, but if you're in the U.S., then you're going to be regulated because they could look good doing that. They're not going to get any convictions out of Russia.
Maybe just Tone, after this topic, we could go on to how SegWit is saving exchanges and people millions of dollars in fees since it's gotten activated.
Yeah, how about that? Let's take a look at SegWit adoption. Maybe this is a good chance for Luke to get back in here, though I don't. You're still with us, Luke. And I usually go over to Willy Woo's site, so Woobull charts. That's where we're going. And I'm actually proud of this one. I asked him to make this chart because I needed it for something, and it was Bitcoin SegWit adoption. And Bitcoin SegWit adoption like dropped a lot in 2020. Any thoughts on what the hell's going on?
Maybe people are using more critical thinking.
Okay, so here we go. Luke, your thoughts on SegWit, which you were instrumental in getting done. Explain it to us like we're five, because I think some of us are when it comes to SegWit, because I was a big fan and I still use it everywhere. But you're definitely throwing a wrench into a lot of our thinking.
The SegWit is good for things like Lightning, which improves the scalability in the real world, but it also, as a compromise with the big blockers, allows miners to make the blocks bigger than they would otherwise be, and that's very harmful to Bitcoin. So it's kind of a compromise that's supposed to be tied to Lightning. You know, we get bigger blocks getting bigger as Lightning adoption grows, but adopting SegWit without Lightning is kind of just the downside.
But it's a downside. Why? Is it because you feel that it bloats the blockchain and creates less nodes?
Yeah, it allows the blocks to get bigger, and there's plenty of evidence that they're already way too big.
So do you think that in the future, we're going to lower the block size to, say, 256?
Should we? Yes. Will we? I don't know. The community should have done it a while ago, but it hasn't happened, so who knows? The longer we wait, the less we can repair the damage.
Jimmy, you want to chime in here?
Well, what do you think is the damage that you're causing? Less full nodes, is that the main concern here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just using light wallets these days, and usually if you ask them why, it comes down to the sync being way too long, and it's getting worse and worse as blocks are bigger than the technology is improving.
So give us your honest thoughts about Ethereum then, because that disaster is still with us, and the fact that they're, God knows how big their chain is, and EOS is like 8 times bigger than that one. No one seems to care.
Well, it doesn't matter if you have a centralized network where you're just trusting the miners.
Tone, the person that would be best equipped to debate Luke on SegWit would be Adam Back. So if you can get Adam back in here, he can give the other side of the argument.
I've been trying. And speaking of that, there was a question much earlier. Luke, what do you think about Blockstream? Because I know you were like a consultant for them in the past. I don't know if you still are. But are you still confident in Blockstream's ability to keep doing what they're doing and supporting Bitcoin network with code?
I mean, Blockstream isn't what we really started it to be at this point, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing either.
You want to walk us through that a little bit? So when Blockstream started, what was it and how did it change?
It was kind of, I guess we were planning on just having it mainly be a way to fund development on Bitcoin, not so much a for-profit company that does other stuff.
All right, before people start taking you out of context, we definitely need to have a more in-depth show on that. Yeah, the Understanding Bitcoin podcast needs to come to us sooner than later. I have a really good question here, but I don't know if anyone on this panel would have any insight to it, but I am curious myself. Anyone have any idea where Cash App sources their Bitcoin?
No idea.
The beautiful thing is, of course, we don't have to know, but I would assume it would be some type of OTC situation
or I mean, usually these places have a liquidity provider that gets them whatever they need. It could be an exchange, it could be other sources. You usually want more than one vendor if you are going to run something like that. But yeah, I suspect it's a variety of sources that they get them from.
Yeah, I mean, there's
places, yeah.
really, really large OTC desks, market makers in the US that I'm sure that they can work with. I mean, it's anywhere from Cumberland, Trump, DRW, even Genesis, right? Like there's some dudes that move some really large volume.
I'm gonna go the other way on this, right? Because like Cash App's business is selling you Bitcoin in real time. It's not their core business to be hedging a bunch of, like if you go to Cumberland or you go to an OTC dealer, these transactions take a little while to go through, and they're usually large transactions, in which case the company, the Cash App, now becomes the custodian for, or the holder of a lot of Bitcoin that they now need to hedge the volatility risk on. So if I was Cash App, I would have like a direct deal with maybe Coinbase or Kraken, where you can instantly, or through the liquid side chain, where you can instantly source Bitcoin as users are trying to buy it through your app. Like not like buy it in bulk ahead of time.
Yeah, very possible. Although we also saw, alongside the growth of a lot of Cash App withdrawals, a huge growth in systemic vol sellers. So there's somebody out there that's hedging the volatility.
Maybe the issue isn't that Cash App.
Boom! We called it. We called it. New high right there. New high on the Bitstamp. Almost, almost 11.8. We'll get there. Give it another 20 minutes.
Luke Jr. encourages market buy. Breaks 11.8.
We're pumping the price. Come on, get us to 11.8.
I was just asking a question.
So what I was going to say is maybe the issue isn't that Cash App is so brilliant at figuring out how to provide liquidity. Maybe it's just that Coinbase is just so incompetent at it, which is why it makes Cash App look brilliant at it. They're just competent, and Coinbase is just can't figure it out.
It really helps being able to focus on Bitcoin only.
They have different demographics entirely, different user bases of people who are actually going to be purchasing Bitcoin. I think that it has a completely different approach. They're both custodial wallets, but I think that people who enter on Coinbase are different types of people than who enter on Cash App.
We got it. 11.8.
Boom.
There it is.
Boom.
How about 12? When are we going to get to 12, Tone?
We might. Look, there's no liquidity whatsoever. I don't know. Joe said, Joe, are you still with us?
Joe, you there?
Well, I got a quick question. What Tone, or for anybody, like, what do you guys do? What do you guys think about this? Of every single bank becoming a Coinbase pretty soon, is that going to happen? And if so, how soon will that happen?
Really
that's a good question. I don't think so, but I think now that I think if anything, one of the banks is just going to buy Coinbase.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep.
I mean, it'll be great. I mean, Brian Armstrong can finally get out of the space that he hates, and I think it'll be good for all involved if, say, JP Morgan just bought out Coinbase.
Yep. That's what it's come to, is that we'd rather literally have JP Morgan running Coinbase than Brian Armstrong, because that is how terrible that he has run his company.
I actually agree. I don't know if you guys, I don't know how many of you on this podcast have heard me say, but I've been, like, over the last year and a half, I've been comparing Brian Armstrong to, like, he's like a leader. He is a bit of a leader in the crypto industry, but I compare him to, he's like a Jeff Bezos who hates online shopping. That's basically Brian Armstrong. Like, he couldn't hate Bitcoin more, and he's running Coinbase. But yeah,
he still doesn't say Bitcoin, by the way. He still doesn't say it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Look, so there is a shit ton of, if you guys can see my screen right here, there is a lot of Bitcoin up for sale at exactly 1,200. So crossing 1,200.
12,000.
So my bad. So crossing 12,000 ain't happening tonight.
Well,
But getting it to 11.9, that's very likely.
I think you might be right about tonight, but just so you know, in the $100 aggregation, 1,100 Bitcoin, we had about that much Bitcoin between 9,400 and 9,700 when we were tearing the other day. It's like, and all this resistance overhead is pretty much, in my eyes, it's just easy pickings. And 1,100 Bitcoin at 12K, that is nothing. We could, if this gets violent, As you can see, there's nothing above that. We could go. I'm not ruling out an all-time high. I mean, that's how crazy this is looking right now.
Yeah, and by the way, in case anyone's wondering what I'm looking at here for order book depth, I am looking at a platform called Trader, and if you guys are interested in a platform that has shows you visuals on the order book depth, there it is, tonevays.com/affiliates, TRDR, Trader. That's what Joe uses for all of his trading. All right, let's go over to the price. Yeah, there it is. Clean break of 11,800. I don't think we'll hit 12,000. We are 2.5 hours into the stream. I think we got about 30 minutes to go. Hey guys, feel free to throw topics at us. Let's go to some audience questions as well.
So can I make one more note on that?
Yeah, please.
If you drop the precision to 4, because now that you're above 10,000, if you drop the precision down to 4, it'll be $10 aggregations instead of 100. So I'm looking at the $10 aggregations right now, and I'm seeing that there's actually.
Let me. I want to see what you're looking at. So where do you want me to do?
So once Trader opens up, I just see a white screen right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see.
In the order book, once it lines up, once everything shows up.
I don't know why. I'll refresh.
So in the top of the order book right there, you can just click on precision and hit the plus sign. I believe I should put us at $10 aggregations. There we go. So now you'll see $10 aggregations loading up here. You can see 11,800 on this exchange is now filled with 137. But scroll up a tiny bit and take a look at 12,000 flat. There's only 615 Bitcoin wall. That's probably mostly going to be eaten by stops. This is just like a domino effect at this point.
Yeah, but there's really not much buying going on right now. So like the price is pretty thin. It's going down a little bit here. Now that we're at $10 aggregations, there is not a lot of buying. But when buying comes in at this stage, I mean, it's just FOMO. It's like market buys just eat through. Like it's really thin on both sides. It's just a little more thin on the buy side. But people aren't exactly in a rush to sell or short right now.
Yeah, I think they'd be crazy too.
Right. All right, let's go to the live chat. Let's see what's going on the live chat here. Oh yeah, if we can eat through that $12,000 wall tonight, we can go to 14,000 by Monday. Like I think 12,000 is a big one.
I don't think people understand how thin the air is up there. Above 12,000, like it's insane.
Yeah, 12 to 14 is like instant.
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting some Taproot questions, so we're gonna get Luke back in here. Hey, Luke, what is your view on Taproot? Do you think it's being handled properly? How would you like to see Taproot enter the Bitcoin? How would you activate Taproot? What do you think of the best soft fork activation scheme?
What do you mean? It just activated this morning.
Oh, we're all in? I wasn't even paying attention.
I'm just kidding.
No. That thing is gonna take.
That would be freaking amazing if Luke made that happen this morning. I would have been like,
the price would be even higher.
I think I need to carry you on my shoulders and.
I was about to say because
that was good.
Because I was just telling Jimmy like a few weeks ago when he's saying Taproot might take like a year or two to activate, then I'm like, that's insane. We need this thing in like at worst a year from now.
I have to confess, I've been planning that line for almost this whole meeting.
Oh,
just
God.
waiting for the right time.
Waiting.
Eric wants to
You've been waiting the whole time.
Hey Tone, Eric wants to join in.
Oh, my bad.
NVK as well. Eric and
I'm
NVK.
not paying attention to people.
I would guesstimate about a year after it's ready.
Right, but isn't it already ready?
No, there still needs to be code review done.
They changed some stuff, so that all needs technical review again.
All right. Oh, we got some good stuff for you guys. We got NVK who needs to turn his camera sideways, and perfect. And we got Eric Lombroso. Eric, I'm sorry, MVK, you've been on my show a bunch of times, but it's been, man, Eric, thank you so much for joining. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for like 2 years, and you're finally on the podcast. You gotta unmute, buddy. And we've been reliving the user-activated soft fork. You were absolutely instrumental. The efforts you went to. I mean, Vortex mentioned your name earlier. Thanks, man. We're still wearing the hats. It's been 3 years. Is PTSD finally going away, man? Come on, tell us.
What, wait,
3
repeat that
years
again?
to recover.
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Oh,
he said you've been suffering for 3 years and
right,
you've been traumatized, and that's why you aren't.
Is the post-traumatic? Is the post-traumatic stress finally gone?
I really do not want to go through anything even close to that ever again. But yeah, it was definitely a really interesting experience, and I'm glad that we got the outcome that we did. I would like to avoid it at all costs if possible. If we do the Taproot thing, I would like to apply all the lessons from it and make sure that we don't end up in a similar situation. So.
All right. So, on that note, since Luke was just trolling me, so how would you like Taproot to be? So, what path would you take for Taproot soft fork?
Right now, basically, I feel that if it's going to be done, it should be done aggressively. A lot of support should be rallied up front. The code should not be released until it's actually been reviewed and tested pretty decently. So until the code is ready, I basically say, like, we shouldn't even try to think about activating it. But once the activation is actually on, is going on, it should probably be as quickly as possible. I think that delaying it too long is a problem because it just introduces more possibilities for things to go wrong and more attacks. And, the more variables that there are and the more uncertainty that there is, the worse for the network. So if it is going to be done, it should be decisive. People should upfront say, yes, we're going to do this. And it should be done within a short time frame. Otherwise, I'm opposed to doing it.
All right, that's good to hear. NVK, chime in on this. You've been in space for a while, and you were also pretty hardcore on user-activated software. We did a shout out to Canadians earlier. Alexandra is joining us from your side of the world as well. One of these days, you're gonna let other people into your country again. But
I doubt
it. Yeah. So. What about you? What are you thinking? You can take us down memory lane of user-activated software. When did you realize it was the right path?
I mean, we needed to upgrade somewhere. It was pretty obvious. I mean, it was nice to have SegWit tested on Litecoin so that we could see that working out without issues, and also prove to everybody else who don't understand that it was pretty safe.
That's what it's for.
Exactly.
You'd think so, but
I think we like to sort of like make contention sometimes where there isn't, and I don't think there is a lot of contention for Schnorr or for Taproot so far. I think people just have a lot of PTSD. PTSD. Thank you, Jimmy. People just have a bit of PTSD from that. But I think that's the reality of having the centralized system where everybody's eggs is on that basket, right? So I don't think that will ever change. I really hope we start just pushing Schnorr and just sort of like shove it through. I don't think any other method would be better, because if you just open for people that shouldn't have an opinion on that to like have an opinion on that, it's just going to create contention out of nowhere. If it's like
completely agreed.
If you want the people who understand this stuff to have like to give you an opinion and all their opinions that there is no contention, so you know what, like let's just push the stuff through.
It has to be decisive. You know, people need to make a decision, and let's do it. Otherwise, if there's a lot of variables and a lot of uncertainty, then it's just going to be a mess again. And I definitely want that again.
Yeah, I think another thing that like maybe people don't see is a lot of the back channel sort of talking between, you know, like people who are fully invested in this, large economic actors on this, like even miners really, or the devs. Like there's a lot of other channels that are not as public, and I'm yet to see any sort of contention on Schnorr. So I think it would be nice to have a flag day because it's fun to rally the troops. You know, we have a flag day, have people running the software, and you know, Bob is your uncle.
Yeah, no, I thought the best comment you said is, let's not open this up to people who shouldn't have an opinion. And that is one of the problems in the crypto space, is that people that have no idea what they're talking about, I think they have an outsized say into what's actually going to happen.
And it's so easy to take that out of context too, because obviously that's what the Federal Reserve specializes in, is passing laws during Christmas when everybody's at home eating turkey. But like at the same time, this is a completely different situation. This is an open, you know, network and an open thing. And if you are paying attention, then you will be having a say. And if you're not, and you're just coming in a year later, then we don't really want your opinion. This is for, you know.
Yeah, so the way you show your opinion is by running your node, right? So if you are a relay node, you're making your opinion known. There really is no, like, people can have opinion, can scream out loud. You're free to do so in Bitcoin, right? But at the end of the day, the way you express that is by being a relay node and having economic meaningfulness in the network.
Using the node for your wallet mainly.
Yes.
Yeah, but there needs to be incentives that tend to encourage convergence, because if there isn't, then it just basically is like everyone running a different, you know, incompatible rules, and then the whole network fragments. So I think that the dynamics need to be favorable, and at least we need to, like, you know, have a certain sense that it will converge before I'm really ready to go all in on it. But I think it's all or nothing. Basically, like, if we do decide to do it, we should just go all in. It shouldn't be a thing of like waiting and seeing if maybe people like are going to do it or not. It's like, you know, if it's decided, it should be decisive, and let's just do it.
I think especially because of how complicated Schnorr and Taproot are. I mean, like, just realistically speaking, there is like very few people in the world who fully comprehend that, right? Like in a level that they can honestly debate it, right? We can all debate the set of incentives and some of the economics of it, but just technically speaking, there's just very few people who have to have an opinion.
But I mean, the thing is also that it's not really the Taproot proposal itself that could be controversial. It's more the activation strategy and the precedent that could set. So those are the things that really could open up the whole thing, the whole can of worms.
Or we could just
hey guys, we almost made it to 11.9. Like in the last about 80 minutes, Bitcoin has gone up like $300.
It's the start of the run, right?
14,000. I'm calling it.
Hey, I have a quick question for Eric. Speaking of PTSD, so Eric, I remember after the Bcash split, but before the No 2x debacle happened, I remember you and Jimmy Song were on a stream together, and Jimmy Song was a little concerned because Bitfury was one of the signers of the New York agreement, and Bitfury was saying that they were going to support 2x, but you were saying that you weren't worried about it and you didn't think it was going to be an issue. So how did you know not to worry about the 2x people? Did you kind of have a feeling that it was going to fail somehow?
Yeah, it was just not convergent. If you really like follow the network properties and the economic incentives and all the players, and I had talked to all the developers, I talked to a large number of the exchanges and a whole bunch of other people in the ecosystem, important players. And for the most part, it just seemed like, if everyone just wanted a decision, they just wanted this whole thing to be resolved. And most people really didn't care either way as long as there was a resolution. So the user-activated soft fork kind of like made it so that there was this ultimatum where we either do this or something bad's going to happen. And then everyone just basically fell in line. And I figured that any kind of signed agreement was just going to fail because that really isn't, there's no incentives to hold that up. There's really no way to actually uphold any kind of signed contract outside of the network It really comes down to the incentives internal to the network. And the incentives just aligned so strongly for this to happen that I was pretty confident that it was going to work.
Right, and you're right, because the signers were dropping off one by one, like week by week, more and more signers were dropping off.
I thought you had the perfect chance to do like the trollish of answers, like in Luke Dashjr style, where you could have just said, I've seen Jeff Garza code, and then you could have just left it there.
Right.
Off by one.
I mean, you really don't want to be in the wrong side of something, right? So most actors will play along. If you're on the wrong side, you're screwed.
Yeah, right. Everyone's just looking for the winner, and they just want to side with whoever's going to win. You know, they don't want to get into the battle, really. They just want to, like, know who's going to win and just side with them immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful set of incentives that way.
But wait, but there are consequences fighting on the wrong side. I mean, look at Roger. We spent enough time talking about him.
Well, all right. So let's talk about that a little bit, because a lot of these people have come out kind of unscathed, right? Like Barry Silbert, he organized the whole thing, and he's still kind of floating out there. It doesn't seem to have suffered very much. I mean, Eric Voorhees, signer to the 2X agreement. He's still doing Shapeshift and doing his thing. Mike Belshi, BitGo, he was a big proponent of 2X. BitGo seems to be doing pretty well. Has there really been a reckoning, like you guys are saying?
What about Vinny? Mr. Vinny himself was really for the 2X.
There has. Okay, I want to jump in here. So we're going to get finally to unmute, because all of the names that Jimmy just said, Crypto finally, do you know who Barry Silbert is? Do you know who these guys are? And the answer is no, they haven't been around. I haven't heard anything from Barry Silbert in a while. Eric Voorhees is barely around. So once you unmute, do you?
Yeah, sorry, I'm listening.
How familiar are you with Eric Voorhees? Like, these guys are not front and center on cameras like they were before those incidents.
I'm only familiar with Eric Voorhees for sort of the prior stories as well. So yeah, I haven't seen a lot from him, but I used to hear more about him like in 2018, and I have actually seen that phase out as well. Just from the point of view of somebody like I spend my time watching like what's trending, who's coming up, the people in the space. I'm more of a community sociological point of view about it. You're right. I have seen a lot of that sort of phase out over time. Things are changing when it comes to who's front and center.
I'm curious too what Ryan thinks too. Sorry, NVK, you first, but I'm also curious what Ryan thinks because he's new to the space as well.
So like a lot of these guys, like they made a killing on the 220X, like the last 220K, right? So even with let's say they just held 30% of their holdings left in Bitcoin and everything else and whatever else they had. I mean, these guys made enough that like, it's not that they vanished because they were punished. It's just that, probably just tired of making money and sort of decided to just go enjoy it. That's my best view of this.
Well, so you say that Eric Voorhees isn't around that much. He's got way more followers than us, though. Like I think
for sure. But those followers came through because he started earlier, and like us, he got all of those followers in 2017 and early 2018. But he's not out there being interviewed not like he was.
Well,
before.
he is, but it's just not on the Bitcoin channels. He's doing altcoin podcasts and all
right.
sorts.
But
that's just something. I was going to add that I think that most of these guys actually didn't really have a solid opinion on the whole block size thing and all this until other people that really pushed for it. And once those players kind of gave up on trying to push that on Bitcoin, these other guys are not pushing that anymore. So I don't think that this is much of a threat anymore. There are a few that are still kind of, making a bit of noise and stuff like that. But I mean, I think that really, if you look at it, it was mostly people trying to see who was going to win some battle and just kind of like side with the winner. And the amount of money that kind of flowed into some companies kind of gave the illusion that these guys were the ones that had the say. And if they kind of signed some agreement that whatever that was on the agreement was going to be what went. But the network is much larger than just these guys. And they were really misinformed about how everything was happening. And I think there were people that were actively trying to take advantage of the confusion. And a lot of them, I think, got duped. I'm not trying to exonerate everyone and say, you know, like whatever, like there's no reckoning or whatever. But I also kind of am pragmatic about this. And I think that once a threat has kind of been sidelined and it's no longer that big of an issue, it's not that big of a problem. But in the future, they're not going to have as much say in this kind of a thing. I think that, you know, it does. They do take a credibility hit from this.
Right, because someone like Brock Pierce, who never chose sides in that debate, nothing changed for him. The amount of camera time he had pre-2017 has not changed even going into this year. So I think those that were on the wrong side of that debate, whether they were for 2X or whether they were for big blocks, I think they have like almost been forced to take a step back, because now the Bitcoin community faithfuls give them a hard time whenever they go out there and speak publicly.
Ryan, I want to hear Ryan too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also that, ironically, the New York agreement actually rallied the troops for the user-activated soft fork. So in a way, indirectly, it actually helped activate SegWit. So even though that was not their intention, in a way, it kind of worked out well, because otherwise it might have been delayed until November or later. Who the hell knows what would have happened, right?
Yep.
No, and it was already locked in at that point.
That's true. The user-activated soft fork had a date, and it was either going to happen or it.
Yeah, but the thing is,
it may have made it more smooth, but it was
No,
gonna
I
happen
mean,
either way.
it could have been sort of like, you know, not activated, right? People could have run the old software, like
yeah, they could have just given up on it. They could have said, you know what, I'm not going to run Bitcoin for you.
Let me put it this way: without contention, it could have been messier. Because there was contention, there was a hard deadline with too much stake on top of it, and like it really made it sort of happen. That's why it's nice to just push it at once.
Yeah, let's get Ryan's thoughts on this, and then I do want to go over to Alexandra, because you do interview people, and who are the leaders these days that you want to hear from in the space that you are looking to interview? So, but Ryan, let's go over to you on what do you think?
The newbie
who are the
perspective.
people coming up? Who are the people that are, you know, not doing too well on like public interviews these days?
Well, the newbie perspective on the community is right. Like the SegWit fight was really over what the blockchain was good for, right? There's the camp that won that was like the blockchain is a verification method. Any sort of computation, any sort of scaling should be done off chain, and only, you know, proofs should be provided for actual verification. And then there's a whole other camp that thinks that, which is a lot of Silicon Valley and a lot of the big money that thinks that blockchains are good for computation, and that scaling should occur on chain. And I think that the people that are left, the people in the Bitcoin community, like, are very convinced, you know, the market has spoken and that this is the right way to go. I think that Taproot fits into that general philosophy, right? That making verification cheaper on chain, pushing computation off chain. And I think that everybody is kind of bought in that that's the way to go forward. So I've been asked by, you know, meeting a couple of, you know, Polstra and a couple of those other guys, like, you know, where's all the contention? Like, we're waiting for all of the anger and all of the mad people to come out screaming at us. It's like, well, they all left. They're gone. They're not here anymore. Everybody that's left is bought in that with how we should proceed. And Taproot is a nice fit, I think, for that general vision and philosophy.
And market aside, it makes no sense to run a program on millions of computers and when you can just run it on one.
Of course.
I think, like,
absolutely,
people really don't understand how impossible that proposition is. Like, this is why it's so fantastic to see how, like, people still buy into Ethereum, right? Because it is an achievable goal, period.
Unbelievable,
like,
still.
So one thing, just just this will get a little technical, but like, my background is in wireless communication protocols, and so when I came to Bitcoin again, like, very late 2017. But post-scaling debate, it just made no sense at all to have everybody using a broadcast protocol like as the base layer, right? Like, that's not how any of this stuff works, right? You always have broadcast on the base layer, and then you have unicast and multicast kind of over the top of it, which is how TCP/IP works. That's how, you know, all communications protocols works. but not a lot of people have. That's like a very niche experience. So that just kind of always naturally made sense to me that of course we would scale this system in a layered approach. And of course you don't want to push complexity down to the broadcast layer at the bottom. So I think the people that are left generally agree with me. They might not have like that specific lens on it, but like, yeah, I agree. Let's, once the code is ready and once it's been tested, and I know Greg Maxwell poked all the areas where it hasn't been tested yet recently. Let's push it through. It fits with the philosophy. It makes sense. Everybody's ready.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, no, good job. And Alex, let's get you in on this. And I just thought of another name that was front and center, interviewed everywhere on the wrong side of the debate, and that's Winnie Linkham. And he was like the sought after speaker all throughout 2017 and into 2018. And now, like, I don't see him anywhere anymore.
Yeah, so I recently put out a tweet that I vowed that I will not interview Brian Armstrong or Roger Ver ever on the podcast. I want to talk to people that are building. So I'm really interested in having people that are in the core development of Taproot, Schnorr. I'd like the podcast to get a little bit more technical and a little bit more creative as well. So there's some upcoming interviews, potentially with a Space Cat and talking about the new the creative space. But yeah, I think that we shouldn't be giving airspace to people that are just in it for the debate. I caught a little bit of Pomp's interview with Roger yesterday. And, once again, Roger is trying to get people to come on and debate. And he was talking about having Adam Back and Elizabeth Stark and just, Peter Risen. And, let's talk about blocks again. And what was really interesting is it's almost a red herring, the scaling debate. So the panel that I facilitated at Baltic Honey Badger last year with Adam Back and Giacomo Zucco, we talked about in 20 minutes scaling and what happened in the historical, scaling 5 years on. So I think the more we get into these false debates where we're not really moving things forward, we're really kind of getting stuck. So let's talk about the things that are coming up next. Let's have valid debates that,
never let your opponent set the narrative. Never let your opponent set the narrative. Always set the narrative yourself.
That's what Roger is. He's stuck in 2015.
Yeah. He really is. But the man can still buy a stage, right? Like he has infinite money, and it's gonna be like that for forever.
Hey, so Alex, since you brought it up, and we're gonna get back to you in 1 second, but earlier this morning I saw Vortex in a debate on Twitter where people think that no, you need to continue debating Roger till till the year 2048 on whether blocks are big or not. And this is the thing, like how much airtime, how much stage do you give him? Like, I don't want to debate Roger again. I've debated him too many times. I probably debated him more times than I should have. And like, at what point do you stop wasting your valuable time debating insanity and focusing on something else? And it's a tough dilemma. Like, how much of valuable time should someone like Luke Dashjr spend debating big blocks versus coding the next great innovation in Bitcoin? And it's like, if the core devs, if Blockstream's job is to debate and defend Bitcoin, who's coding? So go for it, Vortex. You were in this debate earlier today.
It's just absolute insanity. In my opinion, when we stop really listening to these people is when they've been proven wrong, and not just mathematically, not just technologically, but in the market as well. Bitcoin Cash continues to reach all-time lows against Bitcoin, and so now that we have SegWit, we've seen all of these things play out. We've seen it all play out. So at this point, years after SegWit has been activated, we see what's going on. The market has chosen what they believe is correct, and it is absolutely everything opposite of what Roger has been saying for years now. So you at some point you do have to draw a line again. Let the technology, let the market decide. But where we are now, we are way past ever letting Roger speak again, and that's why I was so disheartened with Pomp, and probably why the tweet against Pomp there got so many likes and got so much engagement, because there's a lot of people that are frustrated with some of these new players that have come into the space over the past couple of years, like Pomp, publicly and things like that, and all they really care about at the end of the day is views on their own platform. Because look, it does get frustrating.
Sea
So
lining.
stop giving these guys oxygen. Just stop giving them oxygen.
Yeah,
It's not that hard.
The way I see it is either you're learning something or you're making something happen. And if you're not doing either of those, then you're just wasting time. So debating someone, if you're not actually going to learn something, or if you're not actually going to make some decisive, change, is pointless. So debates are good as long as people still, as long as you're still learning stuff, or as long as you're still figuring out how to make something happen. Once you've made it happen, there's no more point for the debate at all. Right,
so. And Eric warned me of this with Roger. I had never met him before, and Eric, and I told him, I'm gonna go and do this, and he's like, don't do it. And I was like, well, but I want to do this, blah blah blah. And he's like, haven't you met him? Haven't you seen what he does and blah blah blah? I'm like, no, I've actually never met him. And he's like, okay, that explains it. You go do what you need to do, but you'll come back and tell me that he's a completely unreasonable person and he's just sort of
no, but those cruise videos will last a lifetime, Jimmy. It was awesome.
I did get there are people that still comment about it to this day without me ever bringing it up. So in that sense, I guess it's okay, but it was he's a time suck, and I don't think
it's funny because those qualities were very useful on the beginning of Bitcoin, right? Like his intensity, insanity, and sort of full on one track mind. In the early days, it was actually quite helpful. It's just that now when he's not on Team Bitcoin anymore, it's just okay, dude, it's you can't keep going that way. Now
it's cringe. It's horribly cringe, and he keeps going, reciting the same script after all these years.
One trick. Here we are wasting time talking about him.
All right, so hey guys, we do have to start wrapping this up. So any other questions anyone on the panel have for anyone else on the panel? Go for it.
All right, I have a question for everybody. How does this end? How does this COVID thing end? Because it's driving me crazy.
Hopefully people will wear masks for a month and then it'll be over.
Within a couple years, for sure. Within a couple years, it'll all be forgotten, just like other disastrous events.
Yeah, just stop caring. Just move on with your life.
Yep, that's about the best thing you can do.
Once we get life extension,
it's not going to go away. People don't care.
Pretty much
exactly.
What we did at Pork Fest.
Yeah.
Tone, I just want to say,
Pork Fest was fun.
Tone, in Denmark, they're not wearing masks, and kids are going to school, and they have about 20% of the fatality as Sweden, which is same climate, and 20% of US.
So I believe I'm not an expert on virus, so I should be careful what I say, but I believe in the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, they locked down and it didn't work. And I think they realized back over 100 years ago that lockdowns don't actually stop viruses from spreading. So hopefully the lesson learned from this one is that if the lockdowns don't actually work. I'm hoping that's what
it would work if people did it right.
But it's also more than that. They tried to do a lockdown in San Francisco for the bubonic plague, and the Supreme Court of the US ruled that a lockdown is unconstitutional. And yet no one seemed to care in 2020.
It was pretty quick how fast everything came together, but it was just everybody, just like we said, picking a winner, jumping on whatever everybody else is doing, and it escalated pretty quickly.
I think it should be less attention paid to whether it's constitutional or not, or whether it's mandated or not, and just do what needs to be done. Voluntarily.
There are actual things that could be done to help prevent the spread of the fatalities, which is places that should go through these strict protocols are like nursing homes, intensive care units, and hospitals. Places like that should have some stricter requirements on who can visit, who can come into a nursing home. But that doesn't mean that you should close a tattoo parlor. Someone who's 80 years old and has a compromised immune system is not going to a tattoo parlor. So that doesn't make any sense to close.
Or every single movie theater.
Yeah,
it's not just an elderly issue.
Yeah, or how about getting a haircut? Though I don't have as much of a problem for that these days. All right, guys, we are gonna wrap this up. Let's get everyone to just say their goodbyes as they sign off. I'm gonna start randomly picking order. I guess we'll go in the order that people join. Enders, I'm actually gonna put people on the Enders. You're first. Just say your closing thoughts, and then we'll sign off one by one as everyone says their goodbyes.
Sure. I just want to say thanks a lot for having me, Tone. A real pleasure. So many smart people here that were guiding me during the preparation for UASF. I think, well, especially Eric Lombroso back then, and Luke Dashjr. Yeah, that was awesome back then. Learned from a lot of these people on the panel. Thanks a lot.
All right, cool. Thanks, man. Motorist, let's go over to you next.
Thanks for having me on again, Tone. Good to see everybody. I've met most of you, or some of you in person, and some of you only on the stream, but good hanging out, and happy Independence Day. Raise a glass to freedom.
Here's to that. I'll be saying my goodbye as well. Thanks so much, Tone, and everyone. I definitely like learning from people that have been in the space a long time, people who have lived through some pretty beautiful moments in Bitcoin history. So cheers to Bitcoin Independence Day, and thank you all for the ability to be here, and thank you, Tone. So be catching you guys another time.
Yeah, hey, good job building your little man cave there, man. It's slowly coming together over time.
Yep, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll be smoking here tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone.
Who's next, Tone?
No, Bruce. Bruce has been quiet for a while. Let's get Bruce in here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was great to see you guys. Great to catch up with everybody. I think in closing, I'd say, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I've been so lucky to meet so many of these people, and I totally understand, all the conflict that people have had and all the PTSD from all these things. But I really think most people mean well. And even those who don't, everybody's flawed. We're all human. But overall, I mean, I love everybody in this space pretty much. And I'm so glad that there's so many characters. And I have a high, I've met people like Taliban and stuff. So I have a pretty high bar for somebody that I'm really going to hate. Most people, I try and see the good in them, but I see a lot of good in a lot of people in this space. And it's a great community. So thanks. It's good to see you guys.
No, thanks for those thoughts, Bruce. And we actually do have a really good question from the audience. So I'm going to hold off on our goodbyes as we tackle this question. Will we see other events like the 2017 debate for a Bitcoin fork? If so, what would be the cause of that?
Let's hope not. Let's really hope that we don't get anything like even close to that.
We
I'd
do,
imagine that there will be some other events in the future that, once the stakes get a little bit higher, there could be other attacks. The way I see it is like the 2017 stuff is like, that was kind of new level attacks. I mean, if we start talking about like state actors really trying to launch a full out attack on Bitcoin, it could be way more sophisticated than that. I'm hoping that we won't see anything really terrible, but that was kind of just like practice in a way for what we might be facing in the future.
I do have one that I think will be very contentious and eventually is going to come into Bitcoin. We're going to have somebody or a group of people wanting to do essentially confidential transactions on chain, and you're going to have, potential inflation bugs and all that comes with that. So I think we're going to have a contention about that eventually in the future. That could be a few years from now, it could be many years from now, but that could definitely happen.
And the one I'm thinking of, something, eventually the quantum computing prevention debate will show up again. Eventually in the future, the SHA-256 may need to be, may need something stronger in the future. And I think that's going to be a big challenge, 10 years down the line.
I gotta say no. I'm gonna go with Eric. I think the last war was a level up, and there's like, if they tried to come at us in that particular way, I think we just swat them down like flies at this point. They need to level up in order to attack.
It'll have to be something way more sophisticated.
Yeah, it has to be Bitcoin's too strong now to do a 2x type of attack.
But what I'm saying is like, you could have like, the people that remained that now are sort of like the main people running it, sort of split into factions of wanting privacy on layer, wanting privacy on chain and not wanting privacy on chain. And then sort of like battling out if you're going to be willing to have possible inflation bugs or not.
I'm not sure if that really sees the light of day. First, it's like it's a very complicated, you know, math and stuff like that. Way more complicated than something like Taproot in order to do privacy on chain. And second, you know, if we get Taproot and we get and then the soft fork after that, we get cross input signature aggregation, and everybody joins and coin joins in order to do any transactions at all, because you have you know, you have an economic incentive to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, like at that point, like you kind of have a lot of the properties you want anyway.
No, you
and
definitely. I mean,
you got Lightning and
great.
lots of other stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that even becomes a debate.
All right. On that note, let's continue with our goodbyes. Vortex, I think you're up.
All right. Well, thanks again, Tone, so much for having me, man. You know, coming on these shows is like coming back to see family. So I love everybody here for sure. Love everybody in the space, except for Craig Wright. The only thing I want to say really is that, look, we learned a lot in the UASF. Let's not forget it. As we enter this new bull market, let's try to repeat the least amount of mistakes that we can. And let's look to the future. Let's look to Lightning. If you have not looked into Lightning yet as a business and you own any type of business or do anything in the space, I would encourage you to check that out, because there has been a huge amount of articles released this year on Lightning, on every kind of topic you can think of, from payments to messaging to everything you can think of. So definitely check that out. There just is so much to learn with that. And it really is going to be a big part of Bitcoin's future. So that's what I want to end on. And thanks so much again for having me.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for joining. And Ryan, let's head over to you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks, Vortex, for the invite. It was great to get on the stream and give kind of the newbie's perspective on things. I'll echo what Vortex was saying about Lightning being it's come a really long ways, and maybe people may have hoped that it would have progressed faster, but I think it's really coming into its own, and that the next 2 years it's going to be ready for the bull, and I think people are going to be very impressed with all the infrastructure and the ground that's been laid in preparation.
All right, very cool. Finally, you want to go next?
Thank you, Tone, for always inviting me on the streams. It means a lot to me that you use your platform to sort of validate different perspectives in the cryptocurrency space. And thank you to everyone who is on this stream. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit nervous. I'm always nervous when I come on your channel, Tone. A lot of really, really smart minds in this chat. So thank you for everything that all of you have done over the years to pave the way for Bitcoin and everything that you continue to do.
All right, awesome. No, and of course, thank you for joining. You know what? We'll stay with the ladies. Alex, let's go to you.
Sure. Well, thanks, Tone, for inviting me. I really appreciate being on the stream, and of course, all the brightest minds here. It's fantastic. I think Bitcoin is it's definitely something to watch. I wanted to plug a couple of things. So if people are interested in finding the podcast, it's Advanced Tech Podcast, not advanced, it's advanced, because it's all about moving forward. So look for some more technical guests coming up on that soon. Also, I really wanted to mention, so, you know, Citadel 21, in the latest version, 21ism, which is a graphic novel, which is really well done. That's out and available if people are interested in purchasing it. And the article that I wrote for the 3rd edition of Citadel Phoenix is featured in the very last page. So the work that they've done on this was phenomenal. I'm not getting any money out of it. I was asked to be part of it last minute. And yeah, it's a great way, I think, to onboard people that don't quite understand Bitcoin or what it's about. There's a lot that I think, yeah, I think it's really good. It's well written. That's it. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Alex, for coming on the stream. We got the developers left. Luke, your turn.
For what?
Perfect. And, I think I got you already, Eric, right? If not, Eric, then Jimmy.
Wait, Jimmy or me?
Eric, well, if Eric, I haven't got, let's go with you, Eric, because okay. I don't remember if I already asked you or not. Too much tequila for me.
So yeah, so thanks for having me on, Tone. It's great to see all of you. A lot of you were super instrumental in getting the user-activated software for everything that led up to it and the resolution of it. So thank you all for being a part of that, and I'm glad that we can share these moments. I haven't done any of these shows in a long time, and I had to come on for this just because you know, a lot of the people that are here actually were very, very important to that whole thing, and I'm glad that we were able to make that happen and got a good result. So thank you all, and yeah.
And thank you for joining, man. We're very happy you came on the stream. Jimmy, all you, man. Close us out.
All right. Well, it's been 3 years. I can't doesn't time feel like it's just going so fast, right? 3 years ago, we were debating this thing. Tone and I set some records on that stream that we did. I think we topped out at like 250 viewers, and we thought that was crazy. Of course, we did the Happening show, and we had 10,000. So that's how far we've come. It's increasing, our audience is increasing, kind of like the Bitcoin price, and that is a very good thing. I am looking forward to you know, another 3 years from now when we'll be talking about all this again and reminiscing and talking about all those annoying noobs that came into the space again. Thank you all for joining us and for, you know, hanging out with us on this Saturday, August 1st. We are, I think, officially in a bull market because Tone is bullish. So with that, I will take it to our price guy, Tone Vays. Why don't you close us out, too?
All right, guys. Hey, thank you everyone for joining. It's been another great stream. I got a glance at the price before we go, and we are hovering right around 11,800. I think 12,000 is within our sights by the time we all wake up tomorrow. So let's see us break it.
And of course, Tone freezes. All right, so he is very bullish, and he hopes that it goes to 100,000 very quickly. No, I don't know.
Take care, guys.
I think the thing that he said earlier was that if it gets to about, he expects it to get to around 14.5 and then switch out to about, you know, crash to about 10 to 11 and then go back up, something like that.
Yeah, we almost had a perfect ending. But hey, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the support.
Thank you
for watching the channel. And, you know, we got to do these streams more often. They're just a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining. And it's been a pleasure. And hey, everybody
See you
soon.
later, everybody.
Hopefully,
Good to see you.
we'll meet in
Ciao.
person.
Fiat delenda est. This song is done.
Hey.